So I'm calling shenanigans. They still haven't called the race for Kari Lake. Yo, last night we were waiting for the primary results out of Arizona. You guys know that we've had Kari Lake on the show several times. She's amazing. And I saw the polling results as they were coming in, and I was shocked to see that Kari Lake was down in the polls. I was like, how is this possible? Everybody was like, nah, she's going to win. She's going to win. And then I was like, well, what can you do? Go to bed, wake up, boom, Kari Lake in the lead. 80% reporting. And Kari Lake and her team, they've declared victory. Now, analysts are saying, in all likelihood, it really does seem like she can't lose. She's up around 11,000 or so votes. And it looks like the remaining votes that are going to come in aren't going to poll enough for her opponent to win. But something strange is happening with how it's being handled. And there is an interesting solution to this conundrum. Democrats have reportedly been crossing over and voting in the GOP primary. When you look at the results right now, you can see Maricopa is against Kari, or I should say it's for Robson, her opponent. And that's the dense Democrat area. If they're coming out and voting in the GOP primary, that's what you would see. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's going on and why they haven't called the race yet for Kari Lake. And then we got, I guess, in international news, Russia says they're going to join China if a war breaks out between China and the U.S. over Taiwan. China's going to be firing missiles over Taiwan, the first time ever, and surrounding it with live fire drills and military ships. You know, I really do think that it's possible. I think it's probable Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan because they expect Taiwan to fall and fall soon. So we'll talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com and become a member. To support our work as a member, you get access to our exclusive members only show, which will come up tonight at 11 p.m. Timcast IRL, members only, uncensored, as well as our other shows that we have, like Tales from the Inverted World and soon to be Cast Castle. With your support, we're going to be doing a whole lot of really awesome stuff with new shows. And I want to stress that we have taken PayPal off the website. When you sign up now, you are supporting Parallel Economy. That's the name of the company. It's called Parallel Economy, paralleleconomy.com. Dan Bongino co-founded this company. Censorship resistant financial transactions. We have seen people be debanked, banned from their bank accounts for their opinions. I don't stand for that. So we immediately were like, we gotta get Parallel Economy. We have to support the systems that will allow people free speech, and we have to reject the systems that are shutting everybody down. So when you sign up at timcast.com, you're not only supporting us, you're supporting Parallel Economy, you're supporting Rumble Infrastructure. So don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us today to talk about all this, we got Libby. Libby's back.
Hey, I'm back. I'm Libby Emmons. I'm editor-in-chief with the Post Millennial. Glad to be here.
Right on. And we got Hannah Claire.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimla. I'm a writer for Timcast.com.
Everyone, Ian Crossland here, iancrossland.net. Happy to be here.
Lydia is not with us today because she's on vacation.
And I'm Chris.
Filling in for Lydia.
Nice jacket.
That was the fastest we've ever done in introductions on this show.
I just want to talk about Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi. No, we're going to talk about Kari Lake first.
Good.
Oh, good. All right. We have this story from Axios Phoenix. Lake declares victory in Arizona GOP primary, says outstanding ballots will favor her. With at least 150,000 votes left to count, Kari Lake declared victory Wednesday in the Republican primary for governor, while rival Karen Taylor Robson stayed mum throughout the day. Lake led Robson by less than 2 percentage points as of Wednesday morning, but the remaining ballots, which are largely early ballots that were dropped off at polling places on election day, are expected to expand her lead. Okay, they say the AP hasn't called the race yet, but look, even though they're early ballots, they're still saying it's likely going to be for Kari Lake. But let me show you this. Let me see if I have the maps here. Check this out. Did we just get an update? I think we just got an update literally. No, or maybe it's a graphic.
That's still 80%. It's been 80%.
Oh, okay.
Is this the New York Times? They've been calling it 80% all day.
Yeah. Take a look at this. Right here, we can see Taylor Robson in Maricopa. She's got it, but the rest of the state is for Kari Lake. How is it this close? I think there's a simple answer. Democrats are voting as Republicans in the Republican primary.
And
it's certainly possible. I mean, why not do a crossover?
But then they're not going to be able to vote Democrat in the Democratic primary?
Well, the Democrat primary was today, too. And if you scroll up, if you look at the Democrat primary, what was it? Katie Hobbs? Yeah. Katie Hobbs had all of the state except for, was it Santa Cruz County there at the bottom?
Santa Cruz County.
Yeah, that's it. So it's not like there was a big contentious race on the Democrat side.
It's
so
almost,
if you were gonna,
it's a question of like if they think it's more effective to try and put a more extreme candidate in office. We've all talked about this. They think that they can beat Kari Lake later. You know, it's a.
These notes.
Yeah.
It's a better gamble to vote in the Republican primary, I guess. I mean, not all states have open primaries like this, and some, if you're registered as a Democrat, you can only participate in the Democratic primary.
That's true in New York. Yeah,
it's true in New York. It's true in Connecticut. Nevada, I think, is changing this law, and the idea because they're talking about like rank choice instead.
Ranked choice voting. Yeah, we have ranked choice voting in New York City, but you can still only vote in your designated party primary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
With these people, if they now, like, are they still registered Democrat while they're voting in the Republican primary?
No, you have to change your registration, most likely.
Can they do that, like, and then the next day change it back?
I mean,
or are they stuck it for a year as, like, a Republican now?
I don't know what the rules are about registering. That's like such local stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, there's huge
That's
variety.
interesting.
Some places you have to be registered.
For a certain period of time prior to.
Like, before you know who the candidates are?
No, they've known who the candidates are for a long time. Kari Lake was running for governor starting in January. So I think I think you probably could have changed it before.
It's an open primary in
Arizona.
Arizona.
It's an open primary.
Yeah. So
Yep.
even if
Yep.
they're registered as a Democrat, they can participate in the Republican primary.
Wow, that's kind of
That
crazy.
is a
Maybe
little
we shouldn't
crazy.
allow that.
Yeah, I don't know that. Why would you have that? Why
The
you would
argument
have that?
against it is, or the argument against it is typically that independents can't participate in the primary. So Nevada has a high proportion of independent voters, and they think leaving the closed primary system would be better because they would be able to participate in narrowing down the candidates earlier on.
Take a look at this. Over at the New York Times article, you can see 482,113 votes in the Democratic primary, 637,210 in the Republican Party. But for some reason, it's the Maricopa area that's gone for Karen Taylor Robson and not Kari Lake. Maybe it's crossover. I'm not entirely convinced. It may just be moderate-leaning Republicans are like, we don't want the MAGA stuff. So
That's probably true. Yeah.
Right. In the cities, they're
That's
more
probably true as
moderates.
Well. Yeah. I mean, but are these people going to come out for Pence? Isn't he talking about making a run now?
I don't know about that.
He's the milkiest of the milk toasts, you know.
But I'll add this. If these numbers are correct and that it's 637,000 Republicans came out to vote, Democrats are in serious trouble. If it's true that Democrats switched over, because we've seen that reported in other instances, then Republicans are going to be blindsided. Because how many of these would you need to take away? You take away 100,000 of these votes, and then all of a sudden the Democrats are winning.
Yeah.
Or not quite. Or yeah, actually, yeah, they would be winning. I don't believe that 100,000 people came out and were Democrats voting to sabotage Kari Lake. It's possible. I think it's probably just simply put, urban conservative types are middle of the road. But
I think we might have
hard to
seen,
believe,
and
though.
we might have seen like the Arizona Democratic Party making the suggestion. People aren't good at keeping these kind of secrets. So if it was a suggestion, we would have seen it on social media
To vote
already.
I mean, look, Meghan
yeah.
McCain's got fans, and she was ripping into Kari Lake.
She was
Right.
so mad about it. But the other thing is that I pulled the Real Clear Politics poll numbers. I mean, Kari Lake has been popular. She has been leading the polls for several weeks at this point. So in some ways, maybe people did cross over. And on the other hand, you would assume there'd be some indication that she is maybe more popular than Arizona is willing to admit to itself.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if they're polling people, you get a phone call and you're like, who are you voting for? Someone who hates Kari Lake is going to be like, not Kari Lake. But someone who's crossing over to sabotage Kari Lake will contribute to a vote against her. So, if they get called up, it's a Democrat, are you voting for Karen Taylor Robson? They're going to say, no way. But they
Right.
do vote in the primary to sabotage Kari Lake.
I bet someone could be, I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm going to vote in the Republican primary for the crappier candidate, and then I'm going to switch back and vote for the Democrat in the general.
But this is an open primary.
Take a look at this story.
I guess if it's an open primary, can you show up and say you want one ballot instead of another, or is everybody on the same ballot?
I don't know.
That would be weird. How would they prevent you from voting twice?
It could explain why a bunch of here's the other issue too. Now, this is the weird thing. People are pointing out, like, it's very strange that Kari Lake was doing so well in the polls. What about every other candidate in Arizona? Look at this. Blake Masters wins swimmingly.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these Trump-endorsed candidates sweep through with no questions. But then Kari Lake is, and it's not just about Arizona. It's like all of these states. Gibbs in Michigan, I think it was Michigan, right? Trump-endorsed wins. With the help from Democrats, mind you.
A lot of help from Democrats.
That's so weird.
That was so interesting because they were
American
putting
politics
money. Democrats were putting money in to get Gibbs the victory there. And this is the strategy this is a strategy. I was listening to this podcast today, the New York Times podcast, actually, about how Claire McCaskill was the one who really pioneered this strategy of essentially picking the candidate that she wanted to run against, and then putting up ads that made that candidate popular to the far right. So she looked at the spate of candidates in Missouri, decided that she wanted to run against this one guy who seemed crazy, who eventually ended up being the one who said that if a woman is raped, she can shut that down and then not get pregnant. Remember that guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Their body has a way of shutting that down.
Right. Because of course, sure. Every woman knows
like a
that.
muscle.
You've got like a trap door. Yeah.
Trap door.
This is basic human biology.
Right?
I don't know what you guys are
Well,
talking
You see Star Wars,
Obviously.
you know.
Guys, for some guys,
Those medieval monks were correct with the teeth. You can shut it down.
is that what they...
Sorry.
You remember the medieval
Yes,
monks?
I remember.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome, though.
You guys, we were in a different health lesson, I think.
I did.
Separated by gender.
I did see that movie Teeth.
Oh, God, no.
Have you ever seen it?
Actually, in a play that I wrote this one time, one of the characters said...
How are we talking about this now?
This is
anyway,
badass.
this
Carrie Lake
character-
made us do this.
this one character, she said, if I had teeth down there, I'd have bit his hand off.
Have you ever... There's a movie called
Anyway,
Teeth.
pleased me that
And
line in my
this
play.
woman goes to the doctor, to like the gyno, and he's like, let me just check you up, and then his hand gets mutilated, and he's like, vagina dentata, and there's like, and then she's like, yeah, that's the movie. It's like, I guess, a horror movie.
I had a
It's
friend who
about a
was
woman with
obsessed
teeth.
with that, and he also would. That's a totally different story. Anyways, it was Claire McCaskill, and she went with this thing, and she was running ads that was like, this person is really opposed to this, and she made him really popular to the far right, and that is a strategy that they used to pump Gibbs. And also, we all remember when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. And everyone was like, oh, it'll be great if Trump gets the GOP nomination because Hillary Clinton will have no trouble beating him. This is a stupid maneuver, guys. Go with your values.
That's what made it
try
so...
and run people you believe in,
This
who
is
you
what-
think would be positive and good leaders for our country.
Absolutely not.
This is what
No,
made...
that's against the rules.
November of 2016, one of the greatest years ever, was just seeing the establishment have everything implode. The panic, the crying.
It was insane.
It was like Schadenfreude, but just like the most dense, hyper concentrated, straight into the vein, intravenous Schadenfreude, watching all these people lose their minds.
Yeah.
I will say I was one of the sad people, and I went to Whole Foods. No, I went to Fairway. I went to Fairway in Brooklyn the next day, which is this like extremely yuppie grocery store, and there were people crying, like sobbing as they were picking out their frozen vegan waffles. And then Sweet Home Alabama came on like over the PA system, and this older woman walked up to like one of the people who worked there and said, now I really think this is in very poor taste. Can we at least change this?
My stepmom has this story
so
about
good.
dropping her kids off at Montessori like school or whatever, and these moms sobbing, and one is like, does someone have a snack to give to Jim? Like I couldn't pack one this morning. You're like, girl, get it together.
Yeah.
It feels like,
you can still feed your kids. But I remember people calling out of work with like sadness, just calling
Like
out.
going into mourning, it was
Right.
crazy.
But I remember
For me, I
watching
was
those.
having a good time.
Yeah.
It was wild to watch the results come in and
Cassandra
realize
Fairbanks
what
was
was
crying.
going on.
yeah.
Cassandra was crying, but for the other, she was crying
Yeah.
with tears of
Crying
joy.
of joy.
So, I was hanging out with her, and it's fun to reminisce about some of the greatest days in human history, right?
Yeah.
But
November 2nd, 2016 is one of them.
no, was it? No, it was
Fourth?
it was the 11th.
Was it
No, it was
the-
the 9th. It was the 9th.
What do you mean?
November 9th is when Trump won.
Was that when it was?
Wasn't
Why do
wasn't
I
it the
think it was
7th?
the?
I
It
thought
was
it was
some. It
November
was
9th.
early November. We can agree it was before the 15th.
It was a cold day in hell.
What day was
November 8th.
8th?
There we go.
November 8th.
Everybody's wrong. I'm
What?
happy.
No, but the 9th was when they called it for him. The 9th is when he was.
Was it?
They did declare after midnight, so Tim is technically correct here.
It was like
No,
2
I'm talking
a.m.
about
in
everybody
LA
crying.
or
It's November
something.
9th, the
Yeah, everyone
greatest
was
day.
Thursday
crying on the
morning.
night.
Okay, so I'll take technically correct. But it reminds me of that meme where the two women go like, and the guy just goes, yeah. You know that one I'm talking about?
No.
There's like two women, and they look at something, and they're like shocked, and the guy just starts laughing and smiling. That's what it was like. I didn't vote for him, but it was just like to see Hillary Clinton just see everything that she's ever wanted taken from her, and she's just an awful person.
It was
Just,
wild,
it was,
and then
it was so amazing. It was euphoria,
Yeah. It was totally crazy. I remember how many people around me were just like it was completely divided, is what I remember. Even people who weren't that political were suddenly like, I don't know what's going to happen to the country. And then people I had no idea were in any way interested in politics also being like, this is the best thing ever. Like, I had no idea.
So bringing it back to where we are now with, like Kari Lake and all that stuff, now I'm just like, okay, look, I voted for Trump in 2020. I think school choice was really, really important. He was all about it. And looking now at Arizona with Kari Lake, the possibility is that the whole system is completely imploded. I mean, like Democrats. So look, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution wrote, Democrats are voting in GOP primaries, say it's all about Donald Trump. This article talks about how, 16,000 voters who chose Democratic ballots were among the 237 who voted in the GOP primary. Now, it's possible, I argued, they just switched parties. They've abandoned the Democrats. That's a reality, right? Maybe what we're seeing in Arizona is that tons of Democrats are like, I don't want the Democrats. I don't want the MAGA. And so they are legitimately trying to vote Republican. And it's more left-leaning people joining the Republican Party. The same time, Democrats are funding Trump-supported, Trump-endorsed candidates. So the Democratic officials are propping up Trump's endorsed candidates while the voters are voting for the other moderate Republican candidate or whatever they want to call him. It's just, the whole system is busted.
Oh, we watched it. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's just like Larry Hogan got really mad about this too. He was like, Democrats are funding.
Right.
I mean, it was like it was like over $1 million got
like
funded.
1.2 million or something.
Right. They got funded in. And he was like, this is Democrat interference in our election. Like this is not good. And I don't think that it matters to them. Like, even if the strategy is, you could argue, what got Donald Trump elected, which I don't think it is, but it played a role in some ways. It's not working for them. I don't understand why you would keep doing it.
Well, we did watch them change the rules, right? Like, it was after the 2016 election, and we watched everyone freak out because Trump had won and decide that this was a huge crisis, and that now it didn't matter what you had, what you did, so long as you were resisting. Remember, resist? And it was like, I remember watching that, and I was like, resist what though? You guys, like, what is it that we are going to resist?
Irrelevant.
Or like with Obama, change. Well, what do you want to change, really? And what do you want to change it to? Like, define your terms so that we can actually talk about what's going on. But with the whole resist thing, it was anything Trump did was completely wrong and had to be stopped at all costs. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they proceeded that way through now.
I had friends tell me that using like violent fascist tendencies against your enemy, if Trump for whatever, was fine. I'm like, dude, that's insane.
Right.
You cannot take on evil and become evil to destroy evil. You're just creating more of it.
But that's the decision that was made, was that this is a crisis. Rules don't matter. Common decency doesn't matter. We have to give up the ways that we've behaved up to this point. That was what they did. I'm
just so tired of all the people that cried when Donald Trump won. Those are the people that I am sick of. And like Tucker Carlson pointed out when I think it was Ben Smith asked if he was racist.
That was a great interview.
Yeah, he was like, the people that I don't like are like middle-aged white liberal women. Yes. He
blamed them for everything.
Yeah, he's like, that's the one I'm mad at. It's not race. Right. That they are an overwhelming an overwhelmingly large block of Democrat voters. So you look at this group, they're crying. They have no idea what they're crying about. Oh, the mean man said naughty words. Dude, when you've got murderous dictators, communist regimes, outright fascists, so they call Trump a fascist, but come on, he's not. And they're actually threatening us. You might want the potty mouth bully guy to go in there and, shove someone around and be like, back off.
That was a thing I liked about Trump, Trump is, as I've said before, he's the crazy guy on a corner with a knife. You stay away from him. You keep your distance.
Your house never gets robbed.
It's okay.
It's all of the buildings on the street are just like vandalized and looted, but there's one really nice one.
Yours is fine.
And they're just like, how come no one's robbing this building? It was a crazy guy on the corner with a knife.
I just keep feeding him steaks. It's fine. It works out.
One way to keep on. Like when he said he was going to nuke Beijing or Moscow. Yes. Do you remember that?
And you don't know. He might. He just might. That's the thing
scary.
with Biden now, right? Like, Biden is a dotty old man, and you have absolutely no confidence that he's going to do anything other than the most moderate, conciliatory, weak-ass move.
Yeah, I think he'll just be totally in line. I mean, I don't mean to kick him while he's down, but like, this guy got COVID after just getting COVID. Like, wow. I don't really think that
he doesn't
Biden's
know
up
he's
to
down,
anything.
so
no, he's no idea.
Okay.
He's like signing executive orders while locked in his bedroom. He's grounded. Like, I don't know that sometimes when we talk about Biden, like, will he run for re-election, what I actually think has happened is he's going to forget that he was told he wasn't, so he's going to announce that he is, and they're going to have to be
he said that he was going to.
He's going to forget that he's president, and there's going to be like, remember when he announced he was running for the Senate while he was running for president?
Yeah. And hasn't he called Jill Biden or his wife the president at one point?
Kamala
several
Harris,
times.
He kept calling her the president
Several times, and he introduced his sister as his wife.
Yeah.
But the dude's got to be on some kind of pills. Like, I bet they're giving him all this crazy IV therapy stuff. They're putting him in hyperbaric like regeneration chambers. They're like, we must. But what's going to happen is come 2024, he's going to be like, what am I doing? And they're like, you're retired. He's like, oh. And then they're going to walk out Pete Buttigieg or Newsom and be like, come on, get in there.
Right. And then they're going to, yeah.
Or AOC.
Yeah, I hope so.
I really hope it's AOC.
She is so dumb, though, you guys. I mean,
maybe ignorant.
Libby's letting us in on a secret.
Still learning.
I don't think that she's ignorant. I think she's just not that bright.
Really?
Yeah.
She strikes me as
Every
intelligent.
time she speaks about things,
She strikes you as
Really?
intelligent.
Have you ever watched
She puts her
her-
glasses on and she sits up straight. Like, it's good. It's a good move.
Ian's
Maybe
like,
she's
I
just
saw her
maybe it's more charisma than intelligence.
she's got moxie.
spunk. Yeah,
She's so new. I mean, she says stuff that isn't true. Like,
That's right.
so that's more ignorance. Like, if she doesn't know
No,
stuff.
that's stupid.
It is. I think, was it Seamus who said it was a total Chad move when she went on Colbert and just made up stuff about the Civil War?
It's crazy.
I mean, that's ballsy. So the thing about AOC is that I kind of view her similarly to Trump in that it would be like chaotic for the deep state. And I'm down for that. It's not my preferred candidate. But if it was AOC versus Trump, I'm kind of like, whoever wins, the bureaucratic state is going to be crying into their pillow tonight.
Who do you think would win?
I think Trump would win.
You think Trump would win over AOC?
I do think AOC is the Democrats' best choice, like their best bet. She's got name recognition. She's young. She's got 13 million followers. Not the most prominent, particularly prominent, but Gavin Newsom, he's like plastic. He's generic.
Well, and it's the things they've been saying they don't want.
Yeah.
He's just like an established white kind of. He's younger than let's say
Also,
Bernie
like,
Sanders, but
One thing he definitely has against him is a lot of data to back up why he sucks. His schools are failing. His state is failing. He's an abortion sanctuary state.
he constantly brings back COVID regulations.
He's an immigrant. It's
From
like
where?
an illegal immigrant
Oh.
sanctuary state,
I thought you
right?
said he's an immigrant.
No, yeah, I did, but that's because I left out words in
He's
the middle.
got. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I understand where you're headed.
He violated all his own COVID restrictions. Remember those? Like, no one's going to
That
forget
was
those
so
dinners
dirty.
at French Laundry.
Yeah.
Come on, guy.
Not wearing masks.
Really?
It's
ridiculous.
Not wearing masks.
But
Partying with his friends.
I think if AOC were to get elected, her whole thing is like attention, social media, saying whatever. It would be pure. It would be pandemonium, just insanity in the White House. They would be coming to her being like, President Ocasio-Cortez, here's the documents on the latest problem that's happening in Afghanistan. And then she's going to say something totally unrelated or relevant. She's going to be like, when we went into Afghanistan in 2005 in Desert Storm the first time, you had Saddam Hussein who was working with ISIS. And, that's why I don't think it's a good idea. And they're going to be like, she's just saying random things related to the Middle East
Either
conflict,
that
isn't she?
or she'll just be like, we can't go to war with that country because that would be racist.
Wait, I'll take it. It's like, no more troops in the Middle East because President AOC says it's settler colonialism. I'll be like, okay, all right. Like, no foreign incursions. I don't care the reason. I mean, I am kind of worried about that at the federal level.
And then
become weirdly isolationist because she's like, no, we just have to leave everyone else alone.
And then the first gentleman will be a guy with a page on FootWiki, right? Like,
The redhead dude?
Yeah.
Why, he does?
Well, I don't know for sure, but remember they were going after his feet when he wore sandals when they went to Florida to flout COVID restrictions and have a good time.
Wicked.
And her response to that was, you just want to date me? That was like her weird clap
Yeah,
back.
that was her whole thing. And it was all like, and her boyfriend was sitting there with gross feet.
I'm just imagining she's like sitting down with Kim Jong-un and he's like, Kim Jong-un says something about we have to negotiate terms if I'm going to stop these nuclear tests. And she goes, stop trying to date me, sir.
Right.
And then he's just like, what do I say? It's almost as crazy as Trump. They're like, the Americans have put a crazy person in the White House again.
Yeah,
we don't know what she wants.
But they can't, now we
does a
zag the
woman
other way
want?
with crazy. Like, it's a different kind of crazy.
Right.
They can't figure that one out either.
I mean, that is kind of funny. It's like Trump is aggressive, arrogant kind of crazy. And she's like woman kind of crazy.
Also arrogant, kind of crazy.
But like the "you want to date me" line, it's like Trump would never say something like that. Like I don't think a dude would be like, Kim Jong-un was trying to date me. Like he wouldn't say it.
Well, I also think she knows like it's a very awkward thing for most men to respond to. Like they can say no, but also like, why are you making this about romance? Like we're professional rivals. Like we're in politics. Like why are you bringing this up? Like it's very strange.
Women can make everything about romance.
He said that.
That's
He
a
said
weird
that
power.
girls wanted him to grab them by their genitals at one
hoo-hoos.
point. Yeah, that was
That
a little
wasn't
bit of
romantic though.
Well, for guys,
That's
it is.
different.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I mean it's a type of romance you could
He
say.
only said that because he
Romantic.
never heard about
No,
that
that's not.
dentitis
That's
thing.
eros.
Yeah, it's erotic.
Uh-huh.
Erotic as hell.
Mr. Eight
It's
Types of
love, you know. It's love. That's Trump.
Lust.
I would love to see Cortez over Trump because of the youth. It's the youth.
Over Trump?
Over Trump. I can't take 80-year-olds in office anymore, man.
I
try not to be ageist, but
it is really frustrating to see our parents' my parents' generation just refuse to give up power. You know, they're just sitting there on piles of cash and piles of power, and they refuse to clear the way for somebody new.
It's their fault.
It's and all of the mess is their fault. And it's like, you know, we definitely need new people in Washington. This is one thing I like about DeSantis. Like he's young. He's like, you know, isn't he Gen X basically?
I don't know.
Yeah.
how old he is, probably,
I think he's.
I think he's like 45.
Zennial. He's
I mean,
like
but
low end.
He's like, let's say at most 50. He's got young children. He has
He's
a
not.
young
He's
wife.
in his 40s.
Yeah, he's like
He's
40.
in his 40s. I said at most, like top
Yeah.
end of the scale. He's
Yeah.
got
Oh
young
my gosh,
children.
he's
Like
43. He's my
See,
age.
there
She's
we go.
43?
Yeah.
44.
44.
He's a really young guy,
The same. He's like a
He's
year
the
older than me.
same age as Ian.
That's awesome.
Wow.
right? So let's go
get it, Ronnie.
DeSantis over AOC if we could.
Well, I'd like to see the debate. I'll be honest. That's something jury's out for me on that, but I
Yeah.
would love
Okay,
to see
hold
those
on.
guys debate.
A Trump AOC debate would be the funniest show I've ever seen.
good.
How-
And they'd keep
Just
doing
be
them too.
amazing. Excuse me, young lady. No. Crazy AOC. And then she'd be like, Trump just likes me. He thinks I'm hot. It would just be the weirdest
what, though?
TV show
Like-
ever.
you just go boo.
Stephen Fry should be the moderator of that debate.
Can we
That
really?
would be really
I-
funny.
I
Can we
like
make that happen? Can
think
I?
so.
Can I? I want to reach out to AOC's people. Like, would you do a
Put it
sit
on your
down with
vision
Donald
board.
Trump?
Yeah, even if
I'm
they're
gonna
not
make
running.
a vision board of Trump debating AOC, and then we're gonna try and make it
Just
happen.
wish it into reality.
Several years ago, I saw something on Twitter that was like, after Trump is done with politics, like he should just, like when the next presidential debates happen, he should just live stream him commenting on them because it's probably more interesting. Because like watching him debate is so
man,
bizarre.
magic.
Like I there's nothing that compares to it really.
We're-
Bring
we're-
AOC into it, like.
We're sitting here talking about like how funny it would be for AOC to like debate or have like a show, like be on a show with Trump, and then imagining how it would backfire and sort of backfire on us in that they end up agreeing on tons of populist positions, and then
Right.
like Trump runs with AOC as VP. He's like,
Wow.
we're gonna win everyone. She was like, I was wrong about this, man. We're gonna get the union working class manufacturing back. It'll never happen because it's not really the case, but I'm
It
gonna.
would be nice to get manufacturing back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was happening under Trump.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I will say with certainty, I believe Donald Trump would absolutely do a sit down with AOC, 100%.
Probably.
But I don't think
the
AOC would do
ratings
it.
would be great.
and
And he
AOC
loves ratings, you know?
Yeah,
I don't
she
think
got nothing to
AOC
lose.
She wouldn't do it.
That'd be a good combo. They don't even have to agree or disagree. They just
You
talk
don't
about
think
ideas.
you don't think she'd do it?
I don't think so.
I don't think.
I think we
know
should.
why
I think
she
we should
wouldn't.
reach out.
There's only one way for us to find out. Tim has to reach out. I expect
Yeah.
you to be on Twitter tonight,
Well,
coordinating this for
I mean,
us.
you know, we've got some of Trump's like inner circle's been on the show,
Yeah.
so we'll ask them. Because they've told us, like, you know, we could arrange a sit down with Donald Trump, but it means we have to go to him. And it certainly would not be a 2.5 hour show. But that's, you know, I was saying, like, we'll have Trump on as long as he wants to be on. It would be an honor and a privilege. And then just whenever he's done, we can shake his hand and say, thanks for coming. And then, you know, carry on with the show like we do normally. We had Joe Rogan on the
When
show.
Joe Rogan
He was-
did it.
Yeah, for like an hour. He was on longer than I thought he was going to. He said he could pop in for a few minutes. He hung out for like an hour. I'd be totally down. I mean, if it's up in New Jersey, I mean, maybe AOC could come down and do it. You know, maybe we do it at a venue or something where it's like kind of, you know, her security can bring her in and make sure she's safe and Trump's people. I don't know if he'd want to go to a venue though. He'd be like, pull the chairs up to where I'm at. It would be the coolest thing in the world though, to be
It
honest.
would
Bring
be
them
cool.
here. It's a neutral ground. They can all have their security. It'll be
Never going to
great.
happen.
Yes,
Nah,
but I
Trump's
can
too old.
dream.
He's
Trump's
got
too
that
old.
golf course in New Jersey, doesn't he? Still.
So this is what we were
Let's do
told
it
is
right near
basically
there.
we'd have to go up to Bedminster
Sure.
to if we were going to do anything with Trump. And then like, is AOC going to drive down there or whatever? It's like, man.
That's not that far.
I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think
Just an
AOC
exit
would
on the
do it.
turnpike.
The one person that I know would probably just say yes outright is Vosh. If we hit him up, we were like, would you like to sit down with Donald Trump? He would be like, yes, please. He just, and you know, so I'll give him credit for being willing to do that despite the things we disagree on. I don't think there's very many leftists at all that would actually sit down and have like a calm, reasoned debate and you know.
What's
with Donald
crazy
Trump.
about that is that, I mean, Trump was an anti-war president, right? Like the Democrats for a long time talked about being anti-war. It's clear that they're not, obviously, you know, as they court conflict with China and Russia at the same time, because that's apparently brilliant diplomacy. But yeah, so many of Trump's positions, like, well, mostly just the anti-war one, but that's a classically
Donald
liberal
Trump,
position.
You can criticize him a lot for potty mouth stuff, decorum, whatever. But his foreign policy stuff was the best I have ever seen in my lifetime.
I thought the bilateral agreement thing was smart. And I also, another leftist position of his or liberal position of his is to have union manufacturing in the U.S., to keep things local, to keep Americans employed, to keep ourselves self-sufficient. These used to be liberal positions.
Yeah, they used to be. And then Donald Trump ran as a conservative. He supported gay marriage before getting into office. And I think he broke the left because they were like, what do we campaign on now? He went middle of the road. Vox.com in 2015, I think it was 2015 or 16, said Donald Trump's a moderate. He's a moderate candidate. And it was really funny to see that if you go back and look it up. Because I'm like, the media called him worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
Right.
But back then, they were like, he's a moderate.
He was moderate in policy, but extreme in personality. And that was something they couldn't look past.
Well,
Because
and really,
they're-
he's like sort of a working class hero.
Their decision making is based on emotion. That's simply put. So when Donald Trump gets up there and he goes, you know, like, oh, you know, fat pig, or, you know, only Rosie O'Donnell, they're like, and everyone else is just like, eh. And a lot of people are just like, oh, geez. Okay, but do the right thing with the border. Okay, how about that? That's the thing, too, about Kari Lake. I think she's even got Biden basically bending the knee onto this policy. Biden is going to be repairing gaps in the border in like Yuma. Yuma. Look, man, that's why I'm like, why haven't they called it for Kari Lake? Because if even Joe Biden agrees on the policy that the Arizona border is in trouble, that Kari Lake's like whole thing is like, we got to fix the border, or one of our big things.
Well, Joe Biden just started rebuilding a border wall.
Yeah.
Right. He's building a wall.
But he was like, what was it? Cringe on Pierre was like, it's not Trump's border wall. We're just doing what's necessary. Oh, okay.
But there was
You're building a wall.
There was a Democrat when you saw all the coverage of the Yuma stuff come out. At least that's my experience. It was saying, you know, this was a sector that had previous funding, but Joe Biden repealed it, and now he's going to fix these gaps. And basically, there was one, I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. A Democratic Arizona, I think, congressman who was like, I just spoke to President Joe Biden about this 2 weeks ago, and we're really going to fix it now. And he is running for re-election right now. Like, it is clear to everyone that the border is out of control.
Yeah.
I want to jump to this Nancy Pelosi foreign policy stuff, but you know, because I was just thinking, we have this story from Newsweek. Russia blasts provocative Pelosi and vows to back China. You even had a lawmaker in Russia say that if World War III breaks out, they're going to nuke London right away. And I'm just thinking about, with all this talk of President AOC, I wonder what China and Russia are thinking. Because in all seriousness, you know, they're looking at their calendars thinking, what's going to happen come 2025 when a new administration enters? What opportunities do we lose? What opportunities do we gain? What must we do now?
I'll tell you what they're all thinking. The government of Russia and China, what they're begging and hoping for, the United States will fight itself. That's what they want.
That's right.
Well, we're doing a good job of that.
That's the only way we could lose in this situation is if we fight ourselves. Well, no,
I think
yeah,
there's a
the
lot
only
of
way-
ways we could lose, actually.
But
one way-
more than 27% likely of a loss would be because of an internal conflict.
I think if Donald Trump wins in 2024, China is worried about that because they're gutting our economy. They're extracting our resources and our jobs. Russia is excited about it because Donald Trump does not want this psychotic American empire BS happening in the Middle East, and Russia's like, good for us. It's probably why they backed off from Ukraine, because they felt like they weren't being threatened by this expansionist, you know, uniparty Democrat Republican garbage. But China would probably freak out. But I'm wondering if, like, let's say the polls are wrong let's say the Democrats are voting in the Republican primary, and so there's more Democrats voting, and then AOC gets elected. Maybe not even AOC, because that's very silly.
Right.
But
Elizabeth Warren.
Who do we like?
no, I just mean
so
like
old.
there's only one president, I think, out of anyone, name a Democrat, name a Republican. Donald Trump is the only person I think who can handle the foreign policy. With the conflict, the crisis. 2 reasons. One, what we saw with this foreign policy was the best I've ever seen in my lifetime. Getting our troops out of the Middle East, scheduling it to a great degree, pulling troops out, eliminating ISIS, crossing to the DMZ into North Korea with no security detail was a huge sign of good faith. Abraham Accords, what was the peace agreement he had up in Europe? Which country was it? I always forget. Anyway.
What, like the Kosovo stuff?
Was it? No, what was it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Someone want to look it up. He did another peace agreement. I'm sure the chat will know. But my point is,
the chat knows it all.
They do. It's the oracle. It's the great oracle. Donald Trump's foreign policy was just downright the best. On top of that, he had this twitching eye about nuking his enemies if they crossed us. So you got the best of both worlds.
Which was great. I loved that part.
He's bringing our troops back, and nobody's crossing us because he's got his finger right on the nuke button being like, I'm pulling my troops out. You see? And they're looking at his finger on the button. They're like, we're not moving. Like, get your troops out. We're fine. But Joe Biden, man, this guy comes in, and Russia was like, okay, into Ukraine we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, because Biden's not going to do anything. Everything he's going to do is going to be calm and measured and considerate, He's never going to take any real decisive action.
Kosovo, Serbia.
Yeah. I thought that was like that's the Europe war area. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Must be over there.
That's their battleground.
That's like where they've been, hiding the dead bodies and everything.
Yikes.
Yeah. Right? But they had mass graves. It was really, under Clinton, it was horrible.
In Kosovo?
Yeah. That whole area.
So we got this
after the Velvet Revolution.
We got these stories. Russia says they're going to back China. China's going to launch missiles over Taiwan. A Russian lawmaker said they would nuke London. He's like, that's the first thing hit. And he said it's because London basically is an epicenter for NATO. It's a huge, so they would go right after it. I don't know. I think there's a lot of saber rattling, but how much of this is us just being like naive and thinking nothing bad could ever happen?
That it is. I think that there's a lot of naivety to that. And I think that we saw that under the Obama administration as well. Because what happened with Obama is he would walk into the room having already stated what compromises he would make, right? Because Obama walks in, he's like, I'm a reasonable man. These are reasonable provisions. Okay, except everyone else you're dealing with is a crazed invading lunatic, right? Who wants more territory, who's not playing by your new rules. Obama was playing by the rules of, we're in charge, everyone's cool with us being in charge, we'll make some considerations for you, we'll do some compromising. Biden's going with those same rules, and those rules don't apply. First of all, he's ridiculous, and everybody knows it. And it's obvious anytime he talks to world leaders that everyone thinks that he's, lost his marbles.
It's almost like a get what go broke, right? And almost with the United States. Like what happens is, I'm imagining you've got like a candy shop, and a security guard gets hired to stop shoplifters, and he's this 6'4" orange guy who's just like looking at everybody, being like, "Hey, you fat pig, you get out of here! Hey, I'm looking at you." And people are laughing. Some people are like, "I don't want to go to this candy shop anymore." And then the owner or like the investors come in and they're like, get this guy out of here and just get anyone else. And so they wheelchair in this old man who's just sitting there going, brr, and then everyone runs in and starts just looting the store. So it's like, because of the potty mouth, they cancel the president and then say, we'll take anything else. And you get this tepid, pathetic old man. And now we are being just rampaged over internationally.
Well, and it's not
gas
just
prices,
internationally,
production.
right? It's not just internationally. I mean, there's like a Dwayne Reed in New York that's been putting spam in plastic lock boxes.
No, for real?
For real. Because of shoplifting. I mean, we're destroying our country. We're destroying ourselves on the world stage. We're destroying our reputation. We're not doing
feels
anything.
On purpose.
Well, Obama, who was it who was saying, I looked it up the other day, because I thought it was Obama who was saying that we had to manage the decline of the U.S. He didn't say it quite like that.
He said something like, I think we got to blow up kids. Too many of them.
But he said, there was something about that,
That's
managing the decline of the U.S. And I don't know why we ever let ourselves get sucked into that mindset. If we're going to be an empire, why not just take over more stuff?
Because the new world order needs to set in. The old world order is limited war, American military bases all over the earth, the liberal international
Right, but
economy.
meanwhile, everyone else is still playing like they're empire builders.
I got an idea for a video game that I would like to make, and it's you're playing as Obama, and you're droning kids.
Yikes.
Because, you know, like, well, but the Democrats supported him. They think he was the greatest president. So what's the problem?
Have it like show his face, and then you see it, and it zooms into his eye, and then all of a sudden you're looking out the camera of the drone.
Or
strike.
They're not kids. You think they're kids, but they're demons. Ooh. And then Obama's like, only I can do it.
There are demons, but the kids are there as collateral, but you still have to go for the demons.
So it's like, well, the kids are just in the way. Yeah. I did not like Obama.
I think you should mostly do Obama's voice. If we do this video game, then you have to do
It's not actually a good Obama impression. It's like an exaggerated...
Fire away.
Blow up kids.
He was the opposite of Trump in that, I mean, they were definitely different guys, but he was like likable personality, but pretty overrun by the deep state and militaristic.
He was blowing kisses while pressing the drone strike button.
Super militant. He wasn't invading countries. He was just bombing stuff. And they all have been, really. Even Trump escalated the drone bombing program in secret, and he gave the control to the generals to make the decisions without him.
Well,
it's kind of commander does that.
I was thinking about this recently too, like because we have a don't we have a recruitment failure right now in our military? We have like 2 months in the fiscal year, and we're only halfway to the recruitment goals, and we're going to be really short. So, what do you do in that situation if you don't have guys to go send in and get blown up? Do you advance your
robots?
Robot autonomous weapons system.
Depends on the situation.
Gigantic drones.
And if there are robot autonomous weapons, do they fall under 2A? Does anyone get to have those?
I think they do.
Do they?
Yeah, I think it would need to be clarified and codified. But arms means arms.
So autonomous robot dogs with rifle shooting eyes.
A robot dog that can fire a weapon is it's like an advanced firing mechanism. Mm-hmm. The thing about the left and the anti-gun, I shouldn't say the left, I hate doing that. The Democrats, the anti-gun people, is they just don't believe people have a right to defend themselves, and they don't understand what a fundamental right is. And a fundamental right is like, dude, if a weapon is held by the government, people had the right to have it. Mm-hmm. So I'm all on board if people want to come together and say like maybe there should be some limitations because weapons kind of got crazy in terms of like directed energy weapons and laser induced plasma channels. Now we got drones that you can mount stuff on. Okay, maybe we should have a conversation there. I say for the time being, arms are arms. Whether it's a flying drone that you put a machine gun on or a handgun or a bow and arrow or a knife, whatever. That's the crazy thing is that knives aren't covered under arms.
What do you mean?
Like you can't have knives in some place because there's no 2-way right to it.
You can't have Bowie knives and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they say a knife a certain length and stuff like that. Certain things are like, well, it doesn't count as an arm, so
meanwhile, there was just a stabbing attack during a tubing vacation. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
No, what was that about?
Yeah, so some crazy guy, I don't remember why, he was like part of the trip, and he stabbed a 17-year-old to death.
Yeah.
He sent 4 other people to the hospital, and they were all just tubing on a river.
Whoa.
I think it's typically like interpersonal conflict that just gets out of hand.
You see the box cutter slasher in New York or whatever?
No.
He just like holds his arm in there and he walks up to a woman and just slashes her in the back. It's full force.
In broad daylight.
Could you imagine living in New York?
On the subway station?
No.
Could you imagine living in New York, Libby?
I can imagine it very well. I live there.
Bro, check this out. We went to New York we did a trip for all the crew to see the billboards we put up. That morning was when it happened. Mm-hmm. Oh no! I think the slashing happened that morning.
Box cutter slasher happened then?
Just like some like older woman is like walking with a little cart and then he just slashes her back.
So the other day, it was last weekend, and I was hanging out with my son, as I tend to do because he lives in my house. And I was like, do you want to go do something? We could go to the Met. I love the Met. And also the Met is the only museum in New York that stopped requiring Vax cards. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to the Met. But everybody else, the Guggenheim, everybody else, you have to show your Vax card. I think that's still in effect. Anyways, so I was like, you want to go do this? We'll go hang out. We'll go to the Lego store. We'll do fun stuff. We'll walk around. And he was like, can't we just drive to Jersey and go to a mall? And I was like, yeah, we could do that. And so instead of going to Manhattan, we went to the mall in New Jersey.
Your son is like ready to be in the suburbs. He's done.
Like, we're done here.
Did he say why you'd rather do Jersey?
So I said, you don't want to walk around Manhattan? He was like, It's hot. There's probably good stuff at a mall. We can go to a chain restaurant.
You do get the AC.
They got Panda Express.
We ended up at a California pizza kitchen.
Ooh,
A classic mall fare.
It was fun. We had a fun day, and we still did a ton of walking. We just wandered around the mall a lot.
Yeah.
I'm excited for. We just started construction on the new facility. I'm excited to bring some life and energy into West Virginia, and I think these cities. We were trying to expand in New Jersey, but they're insane. These are insane communist people.
Yeah, New Jersey is nuts.
It's communists. They're walking around waving sickle and hammer flags. And I mean, I'm half kidding. But where we lived, there were stores that were flying like communist style flags. I'm not saying literal like Soviet flags. They had weird symbol flags that represented socialist and communist ideologies. And I'm just like, you look, man. To a certain degree, I'm willing to engage in my community and expand. But like when it gets to the point when local people are flying these flags, like maybe it's not safe and we should go and try and just bring our investments to other places.
And you were on the Philly side of New Jersey, right?
We're on the we're in South Jersey, right on the other side of Philly.
Right. And Philly is a disaster.
Oh yeah, that's like another reason I was like, time to get out. These cities, get woke, go broke, man. It is what Galt's Gulch. Is that what was it called?
What's that?
In Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
All the wealthy, high meritocracy people are just like, we're out. We're going to do our own thing, and then everything starts breaking down and falling apart. Fine, so be it. Look, New York still got a lot of talented people running businesses, but it's a strain. It's getting harder and harder to do. I think cities are awful. So be it. I'm looking forward to getting out and just doing something with less people.
I think with New York, I lived there for a little bit, and part of it is for most people, it's not going to be a long-term solution. And I think in some ways our culture has shifted so much with the rise of work from home, work remote, that you can start investing in whatever community, both financially, but also emotionally. You can really set roots earlier because you're not fighting to establish your career. You can be in a place that's more reflective of your values. I think that the wave of people that we saw moving out of cities, I mean, we really haven't seen a wave returning since COVID, right?
There's been people coming back to New York.
But it's not like they took time off and then went back. I mean, people are discovering that life is sustainable outside.
Yeah, they're going to Mexico.
Did you see that? And Mexicans are like, go home.
Yeah, no.
Go home,
so
gringo.
we did a segment about it. It was really funny. Right in the beginning, Lauren Southern, she's like, it's the great replacement. But the segment we did talking about Mexicans getting angry at Americans invading their country, it's got 500,000 views. It's getting shared like crazy. It's ironic. But I think the reason people are sharing it is because they're like, yo, the sentiment among people when a large influx of people of a different culture come in, the sentiment that people feel negative towards that, it's universal. Mm-hmm. They want to talk about multiculturalism. I was like, well, it's multicultural to be upset when your way of life is overnight disrupted by...
Yeah, because you like your community. That's why you're there. You're not there so that it just randomly gets changed by a bunch of people who decide they like it but want it to be in their image instead of yours.
I think we should talk about Alex Jones now. We got this story from the Daily Mail.
That was a really brilliant segue, by the way.
I thought so too.
I just figured it was not a segue at all.
It was perfect.
Just a beautiful statement.
January 6th, House Committee prepares to subpoena Alex Jones's emails and texts for any contact with Donald Trump after his legal team mistakenly sent them to Sandy Hook parents' lawyers. Okay, I'm just so frustrated. I don't know if you guys were watching the court case with the Alex Jones trial.
No, not yet.
It's just, this is made up stuff. So here's what happens. The plaintiff's attorney, he's like, we've got all of your text messages because they sent it to us by accident. And Alex was like, I gave my cell phone to you. I gave my cell phone to my lawyers to turn over. And they're like, you tried to hide it. And he was like, I gave my cell phone to you. You have it. And they're like, no, you gave it to us on accident. And he's like, what? This is the craziest thing, that they're saying definitively that it was mistakenly sent to them. When you have two factions arguing, one side saying it was, one side saying it wasn't, why would you just decide one side is telling the truth? This is the craziest thing to me.
Also, isn't it part of discovery? Doesn't it go to everybody?
Well, so that was the issue. They were arguing that it wasn't sent during discovery, that it was not sent during the typical process or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, well, why would that have been an accident if they sent them all of his text messages or something like that?
Also, what is this accident? They were just like, I put in the wrong email address? I mean, that seems like a strange coincidence.
I accidentally gave you this Dropbox link somehow.
Yeah, I accidentally specifically gave you the thing that you wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And then the judge intervened and said, to the jury that we don't know that it was like he was trying to hide it or something, but we do know they received it not in an improper way or something like that. It
sounds like they're doubling two issues right now. They're doubling the issue of Alex and what he said about Sandy Hook with this Trump January 6th thing.
Yep.
And like, what's he on trial for? Sandy Hook. It has nothing to do with the Trump. It has nothing to do with
He's on trial
Donald
for one
Trump.
reason. They're trying to destroy him, his career, his life, and everything.
It's a clown show. It's going on for like 7 years. This is insane. He already admitted what he did was wrong and that it was an actual...
Right, and he said that the media just wouldn't let it drop.
But there was one headline today that was like, he admits that...
No, it's everywhere.
That too,
it's so insane.
And if you look at the full quote, he's like, I admitted this a long time.
Look at this. Look,
he did a long time ago.
Yeah.
AP, Alex Jones concedes Sandy Hook attack was 100% real. Yo, he said that like 7 years ago.
Yeah, he conceded it a long time ago. It's not present tense.
He said he used to have so many documents in front of him and he'd read things, and then one night, and he went on this tirade about Sandy Hook that he'd got some information that was bad information. He didn't vet it, and it changed his life. Ever since. Well, this is what he told me. He said ever since he's been just on the evidence. He will go deep into evidence now. He doesn't shout stuff out as much as he used to.
That fair, but I'm not going to cut Alex. I'm not going to let him off the hook on this one. There were other people at InfoWars that were telling him to stop, and I had heard this before the trial started. Like, it was last year. There were people, because we've had Alex on the show, we've had other people who've worked with him, and they were telling us, people were telling Alex, like, bro, chill on this stuff. You can't do this. You can't defame private citizens like this. Apparently it's come out in the trial. They showed emails where staffers at InfoWars were complaining, being like, what are you doing? Even when it came to the COVID stuff, people were getting mad, saying like, you're saying too much, false stuff. So I'll say it outright. I think defamation is wrong. Alex Jones wanted to go on his show and say things that weren't true or to a certain degree. I think he's got to be held accountable. However, I think what's going on right now is anything but that. I feel like the lawyer was super smarmy. It was just like, dude, I could not stand listening to the man because he was like, no, Alex, and I'm like, shut up, dude, just ask a question. Like, I got to tell you this. If I'm sitting listening to a lawyer, I'm telling you, I think Alex Jones was wrong in this, and I think he owes the family something. Then their lawyer comes out and he goes, Mr. Jones, you said this, right? Do you know what perjury is, Mr. Jones? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, wow, I really hate this guy and want Alex to win now. Because, like, he's so awful. It's like, Alex is up there coughing.
Was he like the Rittenhouse prosecutor? Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah. It's just...
Yeah, that guy.
That guy was annoying.
Except he gave us the best legal quote of all time. Don't get brazen with me.
Right.
I think these stories that I heard that you hear about in the news, people showing up to their houses and stuff, it's horrifying. And there were people that worked with Alex that were telling him to, like, back off. And he went full steam, or I should say he went steam enough that he should have done it. Now they're saying they want $150 million over it. And I'm like, this is where it's getting crazy. It doesn't seem like he's getting a fair hearing. Like, he wasn't even granted a jury trial over this. They went straight to the damages hearing. It's totally insane. It absolutely is. So, look, man, the most annoying thing is they do these really dirty games. And what blows my mind is it just works on dumb people. So one thing they're doing is Alex. I don't want to use Alex Jones as a specific example. I'll give you a general example. Someone will say something like, "Do you have?" I gave the example to Ian. I was like, "Ian, you have a rock in front of you.
This one here.
Is that rock blue?"
No.
You are testifying right now that there is not a blue rock.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Now hand that rock over to us. Then they'll go, there it is. There is blue. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the rock, blue, right there. Did you testify this rock was not blue, Mr. Crossland?
Yes.
And clearly we can see there is blue here. Do you know what perjury is, Mr. Crossland? That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. The annoying thing is, it's like, dude, stupid people will fall for that. Mm-hmm. And it's really annoying. If someone says, do you have X? And you go, usually you say something like, to the best of my recollection, I don't think so. I don't think I have that. Now, I'm not saying Alex is perfect on this one. I'm not here to defend everything he said or done. I'm saying it's really annoying when it's like, perjury almost never happens. Perjury charges. Because it's impossible to prove someone's memory is perfect and they intended to lie.
Yeah, like James Clapper when he said they weren't wittingly spying on the American citizens with PRISM.
Different.
Well, what's the word wittingly? He did say we weren't wittingly doing it, so they were unwittingly spying. Is basically what it came down to.
So
perjury.
In this instance, they said to Alex, "You testified you didn't have emails pertaining to Sandy Hook," and he was like, "I may have been mistaken. I don't know. I gave you my phone. I gave you my emails."
Right.
And then they were just like, "Did you testify? You did not," and they want him to say yes without any kind of nuance or context. Then he says, "Do you know what perjury is, Mr. Jones?" It's like, to taint the jury into believing that perjury was committed when he will never be charged for perjury, because the reality is he probably just didn't know. It's crazy to me, we get thousands of emails per day across the board, thousands. You'd think I know what's in there?
Yeah, you
so
never know.
what they'll do is they'll say, "Do you have emails?" And I'll say, I don't know. And they'll be like, "Okay, well, like you're saying you're unfamiliar with," yes. And then they'll pull up and be like, "Boom, there it is. We have it in your database. You had it." And it's like, dude, I don't read those things.
Right. I mean, how many unread email messages do you have? I think mine are in the many thousands upon thousands of unread.
Easily.
Yeah.
Well, I just mark everything as read every day. Just like, just ignore it.
I don't do that.
Well, and
skip 'em.
I just
you
skip
have
it.
a company, right? So there's so many email servers that could be like, you don't know what's going on with your own company, Tim Pool? That's
Right.
crazy. Like, it's just an impossible standard. I think I wonder sometimes with the way the prosecution is proceeding is if they're just trying to get him to feel so irritated he has some outburst on the stand that can feed a media cycle for a little while. I mean, in some ways, it just seems like they're trying to get under his skin.
They're just trying to destroy. Alex Jones was a huge arsenal for Donald Trump's victory. Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to just go after him in any way possible to make sure that anybody who's not absolutely in politics won't listen to the man. Now, look, Alex has a lot of crazy stuff. The reason we have an Alex Jones was right jar is because he says a lot of crazy stuff. So when he's right, you put the money in the jar. That's the gag. When he went on Rogan and talked about like, what is it, fifth dimensional beings and like 5G cell towers and animal human hybrids, I'm like, okay, it's all crazy. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of things he's talked about, like Epstein, for instance, that he's been right about.
And chimeras, they are real.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like he says things in ways often where you think he's nuts, and then you realize it's true. Like we had him on the show, and he was like, "We're all eating cloned beef," and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're cloning cows and then eating it." And I'm like, "No, we aren't. That's crazy." And I pulled it up. I'm like, "Oh, it's actually true."
Wow.
Yeah,
we show the sources saying we do cloned beef.
I thought that they already got Alex in a trial for Sandy Hook defamation.
Yeah, I thought this. Didn't we already see this
3 years ago or 2 years ago?
But it wasn't. I don't know the full details.
Is this civil?
I think
this is the
civil.
damages hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well, it's all civil. That's the other thing too. The left thinks there's criminal defamation charges. I'm like, what are you talking about? Defamation's a civil tort.
Yeah. I don't think anyone should ever answer yes or no questions.
Oh, I agree. It's
I don't
a manipulation.
think that's ever worthwhile. I remember getting into a fight with someone once, and they were yes or no, yes or no. I was like, I'm not even going to agree with the premise of your stupid question.
Yeah, you never have to answer a question the way someone else wants you to.
No, that's ridiculous. And you never should.
The other thing too is if someone says like, Ian, do you have a blue rock? You say, to the best of my understanding, I don't believe so.
As opposed to no.
Right. Because then they're going to be like, you said no. You said no. It's like, well, I said to the best of my understanding, I must have been wrong.
Or why do you want to know what color my rock is? You look at it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
if we're
why
seeing
when the
different
doctor...
colors. My green could be your blue.
When your doctor asks a question, like, do you have wasps under your armpits? You say, not that I know of. You don't say no.
Because he might be a magician and have like a wasp up his sleeve.
Or maybe he
it's coming out of your arm.
He's like, well, then
maybe
what's
you just
this?
didn't know, and then there's a wasp.
Here it is.
Doctor says you're experiencing
to.
wasps under your armpits. Right. Anybody who knows that
Obviously,
reference will, anyone who understands that reference will earn a prize.
No, I don't.
I happen to have Marshall McLuhan right here.
The prize is ignorance.
I'm willing to bet a bunch of people some people in the chat will totally understand that reference. We'll see though.
Adrian Curry, I love Libby.
Oh, I love you too, Adrian. Thanks.
That was nice.
That's very sweet.
You know what I was thinking with Alex Jones? This trial is almost meaningless. I feel like Alex could just go on the stand right now and just be like, I'm sorry that it happened. I own up to it. It shouldn't have happened. I apologize. I hope for forgiveness, and I'd love to try and do what I can. And let me know what you think is deserving of the families, and we'll do what we can to help them out.
Did he have the option to settle out of court?
Well, I'm just saying if he did that, no matter what he does, he is still Alex Jones, and they can never stop this man. Yeah, there's literally nothing you can do.
Worst case scenario, they would bankrupt him, make him close InfoWars. Is that what they're
can't
trying
do
to
that.
do?
That's not possible.
So they just bankrupt him, and then you just start making money again.
Right. So what they could do is, Alex said anything over $2 million would destroy the company. Considering he got deplatformed, it's entirely possible, but I almost don't know if I believe it. Because he's syndicated in other places, and there's other ways that InfoWars makes money, and I really doubt that his revenue is $2 million. So we'll see. I also bet Alex has been planning for this, knowing that they were going to come after him for large sums of money. He's probably shuffled a bit of his wealth into areas that protect it.
Well, you hope so. Give it to your kids.
Give it to your kids. Give it to, you can't just give it to them. It's taxed. Mm-hmm. But you can do transfers that shield it from, lawsuits.
Or put it into like living trusts.
Open trust.
Yeah, trusts are fantastic.
Yeah, there's tons of things. But I'm just saying, like, even if they were to get the 150 million, what happens tomorrow? He goes back in, he does his show. Mm-hmm. Now, they might force liquidate his assets or something, but all the man needs is a cell phone. And what are they going to do? Like, we're taking your phone now from you. It's like, you can't. Phone costs $20.
Do you think they just want to be able to say, like, he was convicted of defamation, Alex Jones, who was convicted of defamation, and be able to have that be the soundbite and sort of his official moniker for a little while? So, like, again, not that they could necessarily pull it off, but to trash his credibility and try and purge people who don't
follow him.
What does that do? I mean, I don't think it would do anything, but maybe they feel like if they can rock the boat on Alex Jones' supporters, they can gain some sort of influence over a popular narrative and culture. I don't know.
Probably. It's a short-sighted goal, but it might be, because other than that, they just want the money. But I mean, you can't get blood out of a stone. 150 million if he only has 2 million revenue.
Well, I will say, I think Alex Jones likely has more money than he's letting on. But I also think the other side in this is not playing fair at all.
It's the process is the punishment kind of thing.
Right.
They're just raking him through it.
Yeah. So like one of the things he said was, this is what they do. This is how they get you. He said he doesn't do email. He doesn't have email. And then they were like, here's a text showing you sending an email. And he was like, oh, that's like a personal thing dictated to my assistant. And they're like, but you said you didn't have email. And it's like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I don't have an email account, but like one time you might have sent one or two. That's just, then they argue he's perjury and all that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm so annoyed by it. Because if anyone who's sane and rational and looks at the nuance, outright would just be like, yeah, he screwed this one up. These families suffered enough. Let's sort this one out. Instead, you've got the opposing lawyer is like one of the worst people I've ever heard speak. Mm-hmm. And then everyone's just flinging crap at each other. And I'm like, nobody looks good here.
Well, a big part of what we have going on now too, it's not just Alex Jones, but it's, January 6th committee, the Department of Justice. The idea is going after not just people who worked with Trump, but anyone who supported him. And we're seeing that across our justice system. I
really don't like this sentiment of, I don't like that guy, and I don't like what I was told he did. Throw him in prison. Like the stupid
or at least just legally torture him.
Well, yeah, really, it is kind of like a psychological torture.
It's like the trial. Did you read that?
No.
The Kafka. So this guy is brought up on charges, and nobody ever tells him what it is that he did, and it just goes on like that. It's it's Kafkaesque is what it is.
What's up with this dude they just said they destroyed with a drone bomb? Alaki? No, not Al-Awlaki. That's the kid.
This was the Monday thing?
Zawahiri?
Yeah, Zawahiri. And I'm like, didn't they already kill that guy a decade ago? Is this like 1984 where they're always at war with a country overseas, and it's like every 10 years they're like, yep. we have found the terrorists finally. We've killed them. Like, didn't you get that guy 10 years ago?
What's weird too is a year ago Biden said that Al-Qaeda wasn't in Afghanistan. Right?
But now
they're saying now they're like, oh, they're still in Afghanistan. It's like, well, why'd you say that a year ago? And
because a year ago he was going to pull out the troops, right?
Yeah, and then they got 13 service members killed.
Oh, so when they
very
retreated,
badly.
They retreated, and then they routed and surrendered, and now they're back there.
They said that they were going to work with the Taliban to make sure there was no Al Qaeda in Afghanistan.
Excellent.
And exactly, I remember at the time, me and literally everybody else was like, "Oh, you're trusting these guys now? You're trusting these guys to make sure that there aren't terrorists, and they are terrorists."
Whatever reason, like lightning striking me, I no longer believe or trust when I'm told in the news that they got a terrorist leader. I don't believe it anymore. I don't even know if the guy was alive to begin with. I see no proof.
They say that he and his family were living in Kabul. I believe that.
I think that's. I remember hearing a description of like. It was so he walked onto the balcony and they were able to take him out.
Right.
And it didn't cause any structural harm. They didn't have to hurt anyone in his family because sometimes they'll just drop a bomb and like take everyone. I mean, I think they're saying like it was so a show of how how strong our military is and how advanced our technology is. And I also feel like that's a weird stance. Like all of it felt strange.
Yeah, they very likely if they blew up a building or a complex to get this guy, that other people were involved in getting killed.
They
very
didn't
likely.
Though. That was the like.
And but they told us they didn't.
Else,
they said
right?
no. We just got the one guy. Don't worry.
Right.
It's like. I want this guy on trial. I don't want to. I want to stop killing people because the war on terror is over. We ended it 15 years ago or 8 years ago.
But how do you get him on trial?
Yeah.
Like I agree with you. I don't think we should be going around committing these kinds of things. But how would you get him on trial? Like no one would extradite him. What trial? What court?
So take a look at this story from November 17th, 2020. The death of Ayman al-Zawahiri in the future of Al-Qaeda. Daniel L. Byman. I suppose the issue was that they assumed he was dead. And so later on, the news comes out and they're like, okay, no, now he's actually dead. So that's what I think you're referring to.
They could be like, oh, he's actually alive. We didn't get him. Oh, wait, we got him. But it's like this just
They said they have no
appeases-
confirmation. They have no DNA confirmation.
So, okay,
that they
no
got.
confirmation.
Maybe
then
they'll
it's
get him in a
essentially
couple
didn't
years
happen.
next time.
Yeah, maybe next time when he's back, that they'll get him this time, and then we can have faith in our government that it's doing the right thing. That we're just bombing and killing guys is not the right thing. There's no declared war. This is nuts.
But Congress is toothless. They won't do anything. So how are they possibly going to declare war?
I don't think anybody's in charge.
They can't even agree on like helping veterans,
I think everybody's just screaming at each other and clawing for power. Nobody's really in charge. If anyone's in charge, it's Xi Jinping. Not that he controls everything.
He's being run by somebody too.
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, he's got the party, and he's trying to maintain confidence among the people who are around him. But what I mean is, there's no control. There's no single group just controlling everything. They're trying to.
Yeah.
And Xi Jinping probably has the most power of any individual, but not necessarily the most power of any group. You know what I mean? And Putin as well.
The bankers have a lot of power, like the Bank for International Settlements. I don't know what their military capabilities are, though. They can have like private military and they have access to weapons and stuff, but they're not a nation state.
The corporations seem to have a lot of power as well.
Yeah, and they're kind of run by the bankers that are like fluentizing their capital.
And they also just do whatever they're told by whatever government, whatever nation they are, invested in.
This is like ESG stuff.
Look at Nike, right? Nike will do one thing in China, they'll do something else here. Look at the way that the whole Pride Month thing goes, right? So like in Western Europe and in the US, you have all of these companies being like, yay, Pride stuff. And then if you look at their same advertising in Saudi Arabia, it's like, no Pride stuff.
MAGA month, For MAGA month, none of our international accounts changed their pictures to American flags.
Really?
That's disappointing.
Yeah,
none of,
that is
well,
too bad.
I mean, we don't want to offend other countries.
You don't want to offend Saudi Arabia.
And we don't have any
American
international accounts. So,
that's right. There you go.
But I took the American flag off of my account because MAGA month is over.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. You only fly the flag in support during the 1 month, and then you're done. Done my duty. Now everybody knows I support America, and back to work.
Is there a Ukraine pride flag that has like all of it?
Yeah, there is a pride
There is
flag
that with Ukraine on it, right?
Yeah, but was
Yellow.
that real?
I've never seen it out in public. I've only seen it on the internet, and who knows what's
Oh,
real
so a
on
lot
the
of these
internet.
flags are just graphics. Is that what it's
Oh,
turning
of course.
I mean, all
The-
flags
the-
are graphics.
Well, but like some of them, no one actually made into a flag. The crazy thing is, like, is there a committee that decides the pride flag? Like, all of a sudden one day someone's like, this is more inclusive, and then people just start using it.
Well, there are people who invent all of these flags. Like if you dig down, it's always somebody invented it.
We need a flag. We need to make our own flag
Got to get a flag bearer.
for
I
people
love
who
this
like
idea.
reading books during thunderstorms.
Oh, that's cute. We would have a lightning bolt on it.
It would
That'll
be a
go
lightning
over really
bolt,
well.
and it'll
middle of
be
the book.
gray and blue stripes. And we'll hold it up like angrily, and like people start throwing bricks at like Barnes and Noble for
You
some
got to be
reason.
careful with the lightning bolts, though.
Why is that?
Isn't that like a Nazi thing?
No, but
Everything is
it'll be a
something
rainstorm.
already.
It'll be
Yeah.
Oh, I
a
see.
rain-
It'll
It won't be
like
alone. It'll be with a cloud.
It'll be like a cloud.
My point
with
is like whatever you identify for
like
yourself.
like a Care Bear. It'll be like a Care Bear.
Yeah, like a Care
Yeah.
Bear.
I mean,
I
it's
was
sort of
telling-
like when people had family crests, right? Like they had
Yeah.
something to represent it. Like we just need a crest. We got to bring those back.
Bring
People
crest.
will feel better.
A lion.
Yeah, that's
and an
what-
eagle.
We were talking about the Rothschilds earlier, like who's running the show, the banking industry. Rothschild is like, it kind of began in the 1500s. Well, it didn't begin, but modern banking with those guys. But Rothschild means red shield. It was before they had addresses. It was just all symbols and stuff, and they had a red shield on the front of the house. They're like, now they are the red shields. So let's do that again.
Well, that's sort of what we're doing, right? With red and blue. We have like red states and blue states. But if you go back in history, it's always like that. It's always one group identifies with one color and the opposing group has a different color, and that's how they proceed in all of the wars and conflicts. And
Yeah.
That's how we get all that cool tartan in Scotland.
Crests are too complicated. Just pick a color. Purple.
Okay, I'll be purple.
There you go. Done.
I want to peel it back, and then you see the red underneath or something like that.
Periwinkle.
Okay, next time we're on the show, everyone better have a crest.
Dude, if you could fly a flag that was like a magnifying glass and get the light just right so it shines down and shows you where the gold is, that'd be awesome.
The thing about a crest, though, is it's like we're supposed to hate our ancestors. What if we started identifying with them?
We should have Ancestor Month now.
Right? We're supposed to hate them because they were also evil.
Well,
Terrible.
I don't know. MAGA month was July because,
Right.
4th of July. and we're all
Ancestor
like-
Month could be August.
Who do you think was the best evil villain from back in the day?
Which
Evil villain?
day?
Yeah, like if you had to pick one.
But like, what do you mean by villain?
Like maybe Rasputin.
It's like
He was
killer.
pretty
Yeah,
bad.
he was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Manipulated
like,
the
he
royal
was just
family.
crazy.
Yeah, well, he was a weird, crazy priest.
Hopped up on goofballs.
He sure was.
Yeah, lots of goofballs.
Just high as hell.
Well,
Yeah.
no, didn't they try to poison him like a half dozen times and it didn't take?
That might be apocryphal.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Like they tried to kill him a bunch of different ways and he wouldn't die.
it's important to hang on to the good myths. But
Yeah.
they did try and kill the royal family, the women, and the bullets were bouncing off them. That's real.
What?
Yeah, because they had sewed all the gems into their gowns.
Oh.
So when they tried to sneak some wealth out of the palace as they were getting rounded up.
And they were shooting with like 22s or something or what?
I don't know what they were shooting the Russian royal family with, but I do know that the women had gems sewn into their gowns. And
I think a lot of the guns they had back in the day were like 22s. I could be wrong though.
Musket balls.
hard to get through.
Those are 50
diamonds.
caliber
Muskets.
That'll put a 10-inch hole in your chest. I don't know if the gems are going to protect you from that. Let's talk about this movie. Let me see if I can find this one. Here we go. This is from the Daily Mail. Holy wokery, Batgirl. Tom Leonard investigates why Warner Brothers' $90 million new superhero movie has been deemed so awful it will never be released. So I saw this and I really wanted to talk about it because it's a massive get woke, go broke. Apparently they put $90 million into a Batgirl film that was super woke and they canceled it because when they showed it to people, the people said this is a terrible movie and you shouldn't have made it. And so they scrapped it.
It's a lot of money to scrap. I kind of want to see it now.
Apparently that's what's happening. People are saying like, give us the film and we'll finish it.
Let us see.
But I bet it's really bad.
Yeah.
I bet it like.
I think we can't hate watch stuff or even like curiosity watch stuff. Like then they'll be like, oh, so you did buy a ticket, so we should make this. Like if they canceled it, just let it go. Like that's probably good.
They say the audience feedback was so awful that in an almost unprecedented move, Warner Brothers has decided the reputational damage of releasing such a dud would be even worse than wasting the tens of millions of dollars it already spent on it. It just didn't work, said an insider. The decision is also a blow for Glasgow, which has stood in for Gotham City in the movie. Okay, that's weird. Look at this costume.
Who was the lead?
I don't know, but this costume looks like it's like crappy cosplay.
Well, they already failed because we all know that female superheroes are supposed to wear mini skirts and stuff.
But this is
But then that's
huge.
like over sexualizing her, so like can't do that either.
Yeah,
they trapped themselves into a corner where they couldn't market this film. Like
Right.
it's not clear who this audience is for.
I think this may be the end of
what audience
wokeness
for?
in movies. I think this shows
$90
that
million end.
they spent a ton of
$90
money,
million debt.
realized they made garbage that nobody wanted. I mean, how long did it take for people to finally realize when they're like, maybe your average dude doesn't want to see a super ripped woman punching people in the face. Maybe.
And your average woman doesn't want to see that either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Bill Burr, or I can't remember which comedian it was.
He's funny.
They said that the WNBA should, where are all the feminists? All the feminists should be out there watching the WNBA, but there's nobody there. Where are the women at? Nobody watches it.
Because nobody cares. I
Right.
don't want to watch it.
Exactly.
I don't want to watch men's basketball either.
What is this obsession with like creating men's things for women that women don't want and men don't want?
This is such a weird thing too, and especially in films and narrative, because what they do is they say, let's take this character that is a male character and let's just turn it into a female character and do exactly the same things with it that we would do with a male character, and then it's like feminist and forward thinking and progressive and all of that. But if you're going to build a female character, you have to build a female character that is female at the core. You can't just like gloss over, you can't just like basically trans a male character in a narrative.
I think I know how to do it.
How to trans a male character.
How to make Batgirl work for women. Here's what you do. It's Batgirl, right? She's a crime fighting superhero. And then she starts dating Batman, and he like is totally into BDSM and is like choking her and stuff, because 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
I mean, women love that.
Okay, but the perfect one was the Michael Keaton Batman with, who was it? Was it Michelle Pfeiffer? Was Catwoman?
Yeah.
That was great. It was romantic. It was actiony. She was cool. Everyone wanted to be Catwoman that Halloween.
But it's Catwoman. It's not Cat. There's no Catman. Because it's like, that's a female character from the core.
We should make Catman.
Yeah, but every grade school kid knows that, cats are girls and dogs are boys.
Can't explain these things just the way it is.
But it is. It's weird. Everyone thinks cats are girls.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't
They
understand.
got the feline, female.
It's like we have Bocus, and people are like, what's her name? And I'm like, it's a dude. I mean, he's a eunuch,
Right.
but he's a dude. And
Eunuchs are still
Pisses
dudes.
everywhere.
Eunuch.
Yeah.
No, but my point was like, if you were going to make women want different things, right? I made this point a couple of days ago. I made it several times the past week when I was on this plane and we got hit by wind and we fell like 50 feet. You just drop. Every single man on the plane screams. Not a single male did. Because like men and women are different.
Yeah, I would scream probably.
What is the screaming from?
Mostly I would gasp. I don't know, but
Like, why
when
do
I
they
was
scream?
a kid,
The hypothesis from evolutionary psychology is that if a woman perceives a threat and she doesn't scream, she's more likely to die. So screaming alerts the males of danger.
And then
Crying
they
does
had
as well.
kids. The screamers had the babies.
the little girls in my neighborhood when I was a kid would have screaming contests.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Yeah, to make sure. And it would be dusk, and I would be like at home because I had to be home by dusk. And I would hear like these screaming, and the neighbors would get so mad. Everyone would be like, "You kids, stop screaming. We think something's wrong with you. Think something's wrong. You think you need help." And they were like, "It's just a screaming contest, Mr. Lorio."
We would have peeing contests.
We didn't do
The
that.
boys from
I
up
can
on
tell
top
you.
of the
we didn't do that
clubhouse.
at all.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'd win a lot of those.
Congratulations.
Get it into the cemetery. Thanks.
Into
Yeah.
the cemetery?
Yeah, we had a cemetery in our
You were
backyard.
pissing onto graves?
Never made it to a grave.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
little too far out.
That's horrifying. Anyway, my point was, I saw this story. I want to talk about it because I'm thinking like, it's been over a decade since the rise of wokeness. And now we see like critical race theory, critical gender theory, but this is huge because if they're willing to tank $90 million without, and they don't want anyone to see this, maybe they're starting to realize it. This stuff doesn't work.
The old stories are not bad stories. The old narratives are there for a reason. They've lasted thousands of years for reasons. It's because we relate to them. We understand them. It's because they're part of the narrative that we use to tell ourselves the story of humanity and the story of our lives.
Did you guys catch Tomb Raider or ever follow that game or movie?
Yeah.
It was, what's her name, played?
Angelina
Laura Croft. Yeah,
Jolie.
Jolie.
Yeah, the 2000.
Is there like any desire or interest in like a woman with a sword that's
Bro.
a badass fighter?
Bro.
Like, do you?
For men.
Bro, hold on.
I like that.
But you don't get into that?
I recently watched Tomb Raider because it was recommended on Amazon, and it's clearly just a movie for dudes.
Dude.
Like Angelina Jolie's boobs are like mushed forward and pointy like the Tomb Raider character because they only had polygons or whatever. They had very few polygons. And there's actually like a scene of her just naked in the shower for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like the movie was clearly not for girls to be like, yeah, like I'm going to be strong like her. No, it was like dudes watching a big-breasted woman.
But there are fun movies that are like action-y, rom-com-y type movies. Like I was thinking about this the other day. Remember
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead was great.
Romantic comedy with zombies. There you go.
too.
Women
I
love
love that movie.
See?
was
Boom. There it
great.
is. Make more.
I've been told I have bad taste in movies. I love that movie.
That movie's fantastic.
It's great. But what was I saying before I got sidetracked by that movie? Oh, you remember remember how there used to be all those old movies with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner? Do you guys know? Okay.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
What's an example? What's one of them?
Ant-Man. He's in that.
they did a movie called Romancing the Stone, which was kind of like Indiana Jones, but they were teamed up at the beginning and they hated each other, and then they fall in love and everybody gets soaking wet in the waterfall and there's diamonds and things, and then they go off on some paradise because they're rich now.
This is what women fantasize about.
This is like what these movies were, and they did very well.
I was thinking,
now they're like, let's just have a woman be like a super ripped, muscular boxer.
Yeah.
So
who hates men.
Yeah.
And has absolutely, and you can't tell at all what her priorities are or what she wants in life. Like, what do these characters want?
And the men are one dimensional, and they're like, you can't be a boxer. You're a woman.
According to Romancing the Stone, they want overcoming miscommunication. So like they didn't like each other, then they realized, we actually do like each other.
Right.
They want adventure.
Yep.
And to be rich. And then to retire in
and
comfort.
To look good.
There's a meme.
And look fine while you're doing it.
Yeah.
There was
like Kathleen Turner.
There was a meme
in the 80s.
that might not be true, but someone posted on the internet and it went viral. They said the male power fantasy is to save everyone, the children, the women, other men, to put the fire out, to be a superhero. That's why guys love these movies, war movies. It's to like save everyone. And the female power fantasy is to be able to do whatever you want without consequences. So in like a lot of romantic comedies, it's about the bumbling, woman who just gets what she wants in the end, through misadventure or something.
I'd argue that the woman in, I don't remember her name, but Gone Girl, like that female character is crazy to me. I would watch her all day long because she gets to do whatever she wants because she's operating on a really intense psychological level. I think women... I have never really been interested in watching girls fight, like physical combat with women. If that's what you want to watch, fine. But I don't think it has the same appeal for a female character as seeing female characters control a situation psychologically or through emotion. I think that's much more of a feminine trait than seeing them punch someone. And that's why when you see really well-written characters, they are in some ways reflective of true gender norms.
I think that's really interesting.
You're making me. I keep thinking about Game of Thrones. You guys probably have seen it. If not, but there's this character called Brienne of Tarth. There was this woman that was like a warrior, and she was huge. She's like 6'5" or something, and she's pretty big for a woman. But they put her in this armor, and she could barely move in the armor. It was like grating and embarrassing to watch. And society didn't want to talk about how horribly awkward it was to put this woman in this massive, heavy armor. She could barely move. But they were just like trying to shove it down my throat. Like, this is what a woman warrior, like, dude, at least like put her in something she can carry. Like, so it doesn't look embarrassing. Like, it's just disgusting to watch. It was really, really piss poor that they did that.
I'm sorry you had to watch that.
Yeah, it was like, and I
didn't
even realize how bad it was till halfway through this. I was watching it. I was like, I just can't lie to myself anymore.
The casting of Brie Larson is Captain Marvel. For those that are familiar, it just made literally no sense to me because she's like a short, frail woman who's supposed to be this like great warrior, this massively super powerful being. And I'm just like, pick your narrative, man. Like, what are you going for? You're going for a short, very thin, frail woman.
They might as well have cast Kristen Chenoweth instead.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man.
Well, and
I think all this stuff's going to start backfiring on them.
Well, because no one wants to see it. No one wants to see it.
What was it? Top Gun?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that did great, right?
It was fairly generic. They didn't even mention the name of the enemy country, but I think they did the same thing in the first Top Gun anyway. And it was good. It was just like a regular movie.
I thought what you said was very insightful, that women, their power fantasy is manipulating people as opposed to the man is fighting people. Mm-hmm. Because like I've been listening to a lot of psychologists. I think Jordan Peterson and other people have been talking about women, like high school girls their power thing is they will manipulate others and make other girls feel bad about themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the guys will bully. They'll like push.
It's much more physical. I mean, you hear people say like with men and women, like women are grudge holders, right? And like the idea, I mean, it's kind of a stereotype, but like guys, if the argument gets really heated, eventually they'll just throw punches and then it's kind of over, right? They have a way to physically de-escalate a situation. Whereas with women, we don't, I mean, some girls do, I guess, but like for the most part, they aren't as prone to physical violence. They are much more prone to like social and emotional manipulation because they are in some ways more in tune to that naturally. And so like, I just have never really understood these, like why the push to have women be physical fighters when they actually are crazy in another realm. Like they can be
maybe that's why
elsewhere.
Didn't Ocean's 8 make a bunch of money? The all-female reboot of Ocean's 11 like actually did
bad.
really well.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it actually made a lot of money.
Well, John Mulaney had this joke about before it came out, like you could never have an all-female cast of whatever Ocean's movie because women, there would be 7 of them and then 2 would split off to talk about the rest of them. Like it doesn't work. It's not reflective. I mean, with Thor, Love and Thunder, we talk like Natalie Portman got a lot of heat for like her arms actually is ripped by the CGI or whatever. But what I thought was interesting, wasn't it? I think to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, she's petite. Like even I'm not an expert. Please, no one judge me on this. But like from the comic books, it's actually like a 6 foot tall kind of like much more athletic looking, I imagine like a volleyball player body type. And they chose that. I mean, maybe Natalie Portman is perfect for a lot of other reasons. I can't.
They cast her in the role, and
right, but they were like, it's better to have this very petite woman, and then it kind of defies expectations because she's actually a great warrior or something. Like, I don't understand why this is appealing at all. I don't think it's that interesting.
There's another like I think woman's power fantasy too that I think is very taboo to talk about these days, but that we can hear in old pop music, for example. Like if you look at Amy Winehouse on Holy War, right? So the fantasy in that song is that she's going to back her man no matter what. If you look at like a song that I recently remembered and started listening to, I was like, oh, this is great. Midnight Train to Georgia, right? Gladys Knight. She's singing about how this man she's in love with is leaving LA because his dreams didn't turn out right, and he's going back to Georgia, and she's like, I'm totally going with him. I would never not go with him.
Songwriting is so much better.
Songwriting is great. But Amy Winehouse and Gladys Knight, and there's others. Like you hear it, I think, in some Aretha songs as well. But this idea that the fantasy isn't about your own aggrandizement or your own success or power or manipulation, but your greatness lies in boosting your man, and like the whole power behind the throne thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I say manipulation, but like really women, if you think of like the stereotype of like hunter-gatherer, right? Like the men go out and they have to like be physical. They have to hunt and capture things, but women stay home and basically hang out with the other women and the kids, and they have to keep an eye on what's going on. Like there is a different skill set that's needed to do that. Maybe they would fight in the village, but for the most part, you really have to learn how to navigate socially. That's why.
Just take a look at the noble domesticated fowl.
Oh yes, the chicken.
The chicken and the rooster. And now the rooster will run into danger, sacrificing himself to protect the hens. When you watch the chickens eating, all the ladies are like pecking the ground, and the rooster's standing upright, just looking around. He's like, ain't nobody coming near my ladies. And
that's
then
really sweet.
If a fox will come,
it does seem that way.
Well,
at first,
but it is. I mean, and then he takes what he wants.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And the chickens just, they're like,
it's
here he
chicken
goes.
harem.
Do you think they think like, here he comes when he comes walking in the room?
Sometimes they run, and it's like really, really crazy to watch. Like the chickens are like just frantic, and the rooster's chasing them. But no, like if a fox shows up, the rooster will run straight at it, knowing it will die, giving the hens time to flee.
Have you seen this? Has this happened on Chicken City?
We had a hawk attack.
No way.
And the rooster ran towards the gate and then stood in front of it, making noises as the hens all ran in, and then he went in last.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy to watch. He was like not going to go in until all the girls were inside.
That's cool.
But like the hens are really dumb. Uh-huh. So I think what he was doing was he went to the door. It was a small little door to show them where it was. They'll follow him, and then he waits outside for them to get safe. And then I think the hawk actually hit one of our chickens and then wasn't able to get off with it. And then the rooster, Roberto. But Roberto's been retired. He was banging his daughters too much.
You can't let that go.
Well, in chicken society, it's called line breeding. It's kind of okay, but when he has too many kids, then it's like, okay, buddy, like you're off. Yeah,
but no thanks. You were right about Ocean's 8. The sequel, all women sequel, it budgeted $70 million to make, and they made $300 million worldwide.
Because it was about a bunch of women who were manipulative and catty and stole a bunch of money from dudes.
It made slightly less than Ocean's 13, but it also cost slightly less to make. So
see, there you go.
Seems like they're just doing fine.
So you want to do a movie about women, make them sly and manipulative. People are going to be all down for it.
Oh, and tell women's stories as opposed to like just grafting women on top of men's stories.
Yeah, I like the idea of supporting the man, only because the man then supports the children.
Yeah, I mean, this is an old story, right? This is like an old classic narrative. Like there's the Bible story. Who is it? Is it, I'm going to get the name wrong. Is it Esther? It's one of them, right? And she ends up married to the king or whatever, and he's not Jewish, and she's not his biggest fan. But like, she ends up bringing him around, and then he does right by the Israelites, and it all works out.
We should make a movie where it's like the main characters are the women who are married to the superheroes, and then like all the superhero stuff is just ancillary background stuff,
like
and
mob wives.
Is that what it is?
I don't know, but it seems like that would be what that would be.
And I was going to say, but it's just like the women doing things that support the infrastructure behind the superhero. And so it's more of like an interpersonal drama.
Yeah, the show should be called Superheroes, but it's about the women.
No, this is a great idea, and it shouldn't be called that. But I like this. But I like this idea. This would be a really fun film. Mm-hmm. This would be a really fun film to write and to watch and to costume. I mean, this would be great costumes.
If it was like actually written as like a story women were interested in hearing, as opposed to just like making the women big burly superheroes punching guys.
But
right?
No, I mean, this is not a movie that Hollywood would produce right now, because we aren't supposed to have women who are like secondary or playing wives and mother figures, right? Like that's not supposed to be.
But it would be great,
and but that's
the story that most women are actually
at like a
experiencing. It would be
kid's
way
birthday
better.
party, you know, and like all of the moms are coming over, and there's like a pool party, and all the kids have like weird things they can do because their dads are superheroes, and they're all just sitting
It'd be
there
fantastic.
chatting.
But then you got to have a villain like slams down from the sky and attacks the party. That's if you want to get everyone to like it.
No, the villain would be
the wife.
I feel like it's always happening in the background.
The villain would be like, it would be the wife of the supervillain, and she would come in, and you would think she's the villain, and then it would turn out that she's actually really nice, and she invites everyone to like the. I don't know. Their
it turns
house.
out. It turns out the villain is the supervillain's wife. And the superhero's wife and the villain's wife are fighting because they were at a department store and there was one cute dress on sale and the villain's wife bought it first.
Okay, that's not.
And now they just.
Nope. Now you've gone like.
You guys are out of the writers' room. You're just
hero and the villain are like playing
That's like
cards,
a dude trying to write for women. It's like you are off the edge.
That's not what it would be.
No, but it would be like this. But
if you want to go really classic, it would obviously there would be some sort of affair situation.
An affair.
Yeah, so like the villain, the supervillain's wife is actually like having an affair with like the
that's
actually
interesting.
the Chad superhero.
Yeah,
and also
political turmoil.
And the Chad superhero's wife is actually like she's the leader, you know, because there's always a leader. There's always
a head of the girl pack.
So she's in charge, and then it turns out, and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's
much more interpersonal. Like I get what you're saying. Like it might be nice to have someone explode, but that's
and like the superhero, the top superhero's wife's best friend would start to know about the affair, and like she doesn't know if she should tell.
There's ethical conflict. Women are complicated, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Then you get the superhero and the wife's friend.
A really good film, but it would like the lighting should be really bright. Like it should be really bright,
look like
nature colors, like almost a little overexposed.
And it's like a weird suburb of some kind.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I hope someone's writing all this down because this is gold.
Well, we don't have to, right? Because it's recording.
No, but the thing is too, like the social consequences of the superhero dating a supervillain, like having an affair with a supervillain's wife.
Yeah.
And then his wife's friend finds out, and he's got to talk to her about it. They get secluded in a room where he's just got to confront her about
what happens when the public hears that, he's intimate with, the family of these villains.
One time, it happened one time.
No, but it's ongoing.
It didn't happen one time. And then you have like these great scenes like at a rundown roadside motel, and you have like the loud sound of
like real
cicadas
dirty.
And the weird guy who's like smoking cigars, and it's sort of like the light is weird.
And then you cut to a scene of like their kids playing together.
But you got to do it. You got to do a scene.
Suicide.
No, no suicide. But like the villain's wife.
Stop. You don't get that.
Okay, yeah, I'll just give you.
You got to do a scene where like the wife of the Chad superhero like goes to confront him, and she finds him at this old motel, and it's like thunderstorming, and then she's like catches him in the room, and then she screams and she storms out, and then he runs out after her, and they're both in the rain, and he's like, "Don't do this," and she's like, "You did it to me," and they're arguing in this rain pouring down, and then he picks her up and they kiss in the rain.
And then we have a stand by my man moment. Like, will she stand? And the only way that she can stand by the man is they got to get rid of the villain wife, and now they're like super villains.
But that's ultimately feeding the conflict between the supervillain and the hero.
Yeah, and then they leave town, and then you have a sequel because now the villain and the villain's wife had to start over somewhere else.
No. Turns out they're villains. Right. They're into it. They're swingers.
Yeah, but they still have to leave. They can't go to the pool parties anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You can't. And like then you have the kids being like, "Why can't we play with Evil Junior? I don't understand."
Evil Junior.
Right.
We'll work on the names.
and the
and you have this moment where you say like, "What do I say?"
She only wears Versace.
Yes. She's a wrap dress girl.
All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, my friends, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com. We've got some stories for you in the uncensored after show, which will go up at about 11 p.m. over at timcast.com. So sign up if you want to watch that. And follow the show at Timcast IRL, yada, yada. Let's read some Super Chats. All right. Let's see. Matthew Reckamp says, with Convention of States looming, some people have been talking about a deficit tax on Congress as an alternative to a balanced budget amendment so that Congress would have an incentive to not overspend. What are your thoughts? I don't know what you mean by a deficit tax. You mean like tax their wages or something? Do you guys know what that is?
Sounds like that's what it would be. Because unless you're going to go at their personal bank accounts, you would just be taking it from the taxpayer.
Then it's just a bunch of rich people being like, I don't care about my salary. Take whatever you want. Oh, negative, whatever. Yep. Bear says, found a wiki that records all the politicians' ties, socialist communist groups, AOC in photo with North Korean activists. Check out keywiki.org. Is that what it is? I don't know.
I feel like I'm going to get a virus if I type that in.
Yeah,
but
right.
maybe it's really useful. I don't know.
What was it?
Keywiki.org.
Crackerjack says, Tim, I'm now a proud member of timcast.com. Have you guys ever tried Nordic bread? It could be a good alternative to bread. Love you all. I haven't, but I've had skyr before. Have you guys ever had that?
No.
When I went to Iceland, it's like their version of yogurt, I guess. It's different.
Yeah, it's really good. There are some grocery stores that sell it in America, but.
All right. Let's see. Let's grab some more Super Chats. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, I can't vote Democrat in PA primary. WTF other states? Yeah, seriously. Open primaries are messed up. Monkey Ninja says, I'm from Kansas and usually extremely conservative, but voted no. I can't argue for the right to defend my property against intruders and vote against women's right to do the same with their own bodies. I don't know if that's the case, though. I mean, the issue was the state Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution defends the right to abortion, and there would be an amendment saying the Constitution does not. There would still be an issue of legislation in terms of abortion restriction.
Mm-hmm. West Virginia has a constitutional amendment that says there's no protection for abortion, but they do allow abortion in certain exceptions. I mean, like, I think the fear behind a lot of what happened in Kansas was the push that it was like, it's opening the door to a complete and total ban, and like the panic that ensued. I could understand if people said, you know, I oppose abortion for myself. I wouldn't do it for myself, but I don't feel like I can keep other people from it. And that's why you voted no, but I don't know.
A lot of people in Europe think we're absolutely insane for having areas in the country where you can have abortions through, the end of the pregnancy, which is crazy. I mean, and I think in Sweden, it's like 18 weeks, and they're like, oh, we're so civilized. In the US, you can't have abortions. And it's like, actually, here we can kind of do whatever. It just depends on where you are, So it's very interesting.
It is one of the side effects of federalism, really. I mean,
True Halo says, AZ is not an open primary state unless you are registered as independent, where you can choose which party in the primary.
Oh, that's interesting.
So maybe they registered as independents.
So it would have been 100,000 independents who were?
I really doubt that's the case.
I feel like
I really doubt it.
Traditionally,
Mason M points out, as an Arizonan, it's hard to vote for Kari Lake with her past supporting Obama or the child drag show rumors. She's also very flimsy on public education, which is a big issue in Arizona. I love the show. I've heard a lot of people talking about the past voting for Obama stuff.
A lot of people
I voted for Obama.
Yeah, I did too in 2008.
Yeah, 2008. And then 2012, I was like, well, that was dumb. And then I was just pissed off. And then when 2016 came around, I was like, get out of here. I don't care who you are.
See if she supported the post-drone bomb Psycho Obama, or if it was 2008 Hope and Change Obama.
No, look.
He had a lot of us.
9 million people.
Co-opted.
9 million people who voted for Obama in 2012 voted for Trump in 2016. Trump was a moderate, and a lot of people were waking up to reality. I don't think it's fair to see somebody who is like, hey, you know what? I realized y'all were right about this, and then be like, don't care. You are forever tainted by being wrong before. Like, no, that's supposed to be the opposite of cancel culture. So if somebody, voted for Obama, I did, and then I was like, well, that was dumb. Like, you'd be like, thank you for figuring it out and being correct. You know what I mean? All right. Cromulus says, I sometimes despair being born in this time. My generation will inherit a broken system. We will fight World War III while our history and culture is erased. The time is now to be a strong man. Do not go gentle into that good night. I disagree. You are, may you live in interesting times. I think no matter when you're born, something's happening. Imagine being a boomer and being drafted into Vietnam. I guess Gen Xers are like a lost generation, right? Everyone forgets they exist.
We're a very small generation. And the reason for that, there's a couple of reasons. One is the Vietnam War. So a lot of our would-be parents ended up being killed, would-be fathers rather. Another reason is abortion was legalized 73, right in the middle. Right. And then also contraception, the pill came in about the same time. So there are a lot less Gen Xers. Now on the plus side, we all got into college. It was not
that's
hard.
That's a plus?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a plus.
Did you like that? Was that good for you?
Yeah, because I would have had a real doozy of a time getting into college otherwise. I believe I was accepted to pretty much one school that I applied to.
Oh, wow.
And so I went to it.
Nice.
Limiting
the decisions.
My mom made me go. I didn't want to go to college at all. But anyway.
Here's an interesting one. Mark Eckstein says, I'm an Arizona voter. I had to declare party and was only able to vote in that party's primary. I will admit I voted for Robson because I preferred her policies. But when it comes for the general, I'm going to vote for the GOP. Interesting. I think, I think Kari Lake's great. I don't know. I'm not an Arizonan, so I don't know exactly what Arizonans need or want. That's why I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to say too much. I don't want, to tell people in Arizona how to live their lives.
She's always been a really gracious guest when she's been here. She's always been
she's rad.
Yeah, personally, I like her a lot, but it's just kind of almost irrelevant to politics, so I don't talk about it much.
I want to come in and bring, fight in West Virginia for, liberty, individualism. I don't like that a lot of these schools, what's happening. So I'll put it this way. I really don't like the idea of being this like city slicker moving into West Virginia and then being like, I'm going to start voting on these policies and funding them. That sounds terrible. But then what I keep hearing from people is they need help because Virginians and Marylanders are coming in and bringing critical race theory into West Virginia because they're fleeing the states they destroyed with their garbage policies, going into West Virginia and then voting for those same policies. And so they're like, we need help, And I'm like, well, we'll see what we can do. We've got some plans. Buy billboards all over the state saying, Shelley Moore sold you out with that gun control garbage. All right. What do we got here? Lethal 5670 says, I'm still trying to find the full bill to read, but Measure 114 in Oregon sounds like it will make us have stricter gun laws than California. If it does pass, sounds like I'll be homeless in West Virginia. Constitutional carry in West Virginia. And a lot of people are homeless in West Virginia and live in trailers. It's crazy when you go out to the middle of West Virginia. It's the coolest thing ever. I really, really love the middle of nowhere.
It's kind of like where I grew up. Northeast Ohio. As soon as you start to go like an hour west, it's just farm town, corn.
I mean, and there's
trailers.
a relationship.
No. You don't understand. I'm talking about in the middle of nowhere. There's no corn. It's just like rocks and trees. And then you're driving down these single lane dirt roads there are houses. And it's just like well water, limited power and electricity generators. Like some of them aren't even on the grid. They have like just big diesel generators or something. It's crazy to see. And there's a lot of people who live in little trailers. It's really cool when we drove through the mountains in central West Virginia. And then you just come across an RV at the top of the mountain. And I'm like, how did they get that thing there?
Dude, we were at the gas station traveling across the country this weekend. And like, I just get this. I see all these people like pulling up all peacefully, getting their gas. I'm like, what if we had no gas? This whole society runs on gas.
The whole society would be a problem, yeah.
If that gets, it's way too vulnerable.
All right. Honk Goes the Dynamite says Rush Limbaugh encouraged voting in other primaries in 2008. It was called Operation Chaos. Yeah. Not the biggest fan. I think it's breaking the system up, but
Well, it is chaotic.
I'm not the arbiter. I'm not the arbiter of morality here.
It's funny, though.
Intelligible Noise says, here's my solution to strategic crossover voting. Roll over all primary votes to the election day totals of the winner of said primary. This would nullify tampering and make Dems vote for the GOP. By making Dems vote for the GOP.
Of course, if you vote for someone in the primary and they win, then your votes are automatically set for the general. That makes a lot of sense.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, so if you vote for Kari Lake in the primary, you don't got to do anything. You already voted for her. And then everyone else who didn't vote for her gets to decide.
And it would make it way easier to count the votes for the general because a lot of them are already done.
All right, Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says this is Way We Dig IRL comedy over World War III. What were we? We were having a laugh about something. What were we laughing about?
We were having a good laugh about AOC and Trump.
Cats are girls.
Our cats are girls. All right. Clint Torres says, Tim, I think I remember you mentioned something about having theological discussions last week. Might I recommend a discussion with Father Mike Schmitz? I love his Bible in a Here podcast. Is Bible in a year or Bible in a year? He's the most trustworthy theologian I've ever experienced. I think someone recommended we do like a special or something with him.
I got a theological question for you, Libby. Jesus or Moses?
What?
If you had to pick one.
Why? You can't pick one.
So you're good at answering questions in the way you want to answer them.
Yeah, that's correct.
But what does that mean, Jesus or Moses?
What would you pick, Jesus or Moses?
I don't know what the question means.
Who do you like better?
I don't know.
You don't have a preference?
Who do you like better?
Moses.
I did not say
Big
that.
Daddy Moses, dude.
Why?
Because he was like the first. God spoke. He was all tripping on the acacia book, and he he was a slave, and then he found out he was like raised by royalty, and then realized he was like actually a Jew, and when he was like had this ethical, and he
went out to find his
freed
brother.
the slaves. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
Moses.
Yeah.
I watched that movie with Christian Bale.
I haven't seen it.
But
I
he
think it was
screwed
called
up,
Moses.
he smashed the tablets.
His brother did he kill his brother?
One of them or what?
Aaron?
He smashed the coming down off Mount Sinai when he found out that the Israelites were worshiping false gods.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Israelites they always go around and screw up every time. So I was during the pandemic, my son and I were reading the Old Testament, and over and over again it would be like, and the Israelites turned away from God, and my son was finally like, that never works out well for the Israelites, and I was like, no, it doesn't. Let's just keep that in mind. It doesn't work out well.
Let's read some more. We got Donald DeVole. He says 1984 Mondale versus Reagan. Reagan wins 524 versus 10 electoral votes, winning 58.8% of the popular vote. If it was 2020, Walter Mondale narrowly wins by receiving more votes than any other president in history. I think the thing people need to understand about a 50 or 49 state landslide is that you don't need 80% of the vote to do it. You can win every state with 51%. It's just you just need to win in those states. People don't get it. So when we saw these landslides, Nixon and Reagan, it was like 58%, which is big relative to what we've seen. All right, let's see. What is this? Really Now says 1 more support for Timcast, 2 officially asking Libby out for a drink.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yes.
I want to say now that I'm like, I get to say something. There is no Jesus without Moses.
What?
That's probably true.
So
Moses, dude.
You need them all. You need them all.
You need people willing to break slaves free and flee across the world with them.
Well,
give them a place to live.
Here we go. Oh, hell no.
And
says,
then Jesus broke us from the chain of our sins.
The entire Alex Jones hearing is being recorded by cameras off to the side for a future made-for-TV documentary. The judge and prosecuting attorneys are even acting more dramatic just for that. That explains it.
This is what I mean. Like, I think they are trying to irritate him into having some big Alex Jones type ranty outburst that they can then use for something.
This is why he shouldn't have given them this. Does he think that they're going to be like, oh, now we've decided that Alex Jones is right? He should have just been like, no, we're done. Like, no movie for you, no made-for-TV anything. Why give them that? I don't understand.
I don't know. What you mean, give him that? Like, he acquiesced to doing this? Could he have just settled out?
I mean, my understanding is that he offered some extremely low number, like $10,000 or something. But I don't trust the corporate press reporting on this, to be completely honest. So, I don't know, man. I can tell you this. What I do know is that people who are, associated with InfoWars told me things like, people who worked there said, Alex, you got to stop saying this stuff before the trial happened. Then the trial happened and they show emails of exactly what was said. So people who left InfoWars have been saying this. It is what it is, man. Dorian Holmes says, hey, Tim, have you guys seen the FBI's domestic terrorism symbol sheet that got leaked? Recommend looking into it. We did. The Gadsden flag. Yeah, I think the black and gold flag. The
Revolutionary War symbols.
Yep.
From the American Revolution. That freed us from tyranny. I mean, come on. Like, that's insane.
Waffle Sensei the Empirical says, I've always held that Alex is on the autism spectrum. And don't mean it disparagingly. I mean, he has a superhuman memory and that he can remember a news article from 15 years ago, but struggles translating it to people. I got to be honest, man. I'm not trying to be mean here, but I think there's a drinking problem there.
I think he said that. He said that explicitly, that his biggest problem was when he would drink and then do a show, because he would just say the dumbest stuff.
He'd confuse stuff. He'd forget stuff. And so, yep. Dan says, sending my first super chat for Libby. I'm trying to meet someone just like her someday, hopefully soon, before the world ends. And then a bunch of heart emojis.
Please send all of your resumes, bank statements, and headshots to Tim. He'll be screening all of Libby's suitors.
Oh, not me. No, we have staff for that, though. No. All right.
It'll be in your email. It'll just be marked red.
Logan Leroy says, Tim, I'm a med student at the University of KS. I voted yes on the initiative that failed yesterday. Some of my pro-abortion classmates brought in champagne to celebrate today. Even if you support pro-choice, you shouldn't be celebrating abortion to that extent. That's how I feel. But the modern left is pro-abortion, just outright pro-abortion. So,
on the other hand,
they're not, but they are.
Drink some champagne.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, once there's champagne, it's already opened.
Yeah, get it before it goes
The bubbles
flat.
are going to die. Yeah, you just got to drink it.
Greedo says the missile had blades on it, no explosives. Yeah, wasn't it called like a ninja missile or something?
What missile?
A shredder. The missile they fired to kill al-Zawahiri. It they fire it and then it spins and fires blades and they just shred you to pieces.
That sounds like a weird Star Wars thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, doesn't Star Wars use energy weapons like lightsabers?
They do both.
Yeah, but then they do other stuff too.
Yeah, they have vibro blades, which are...
Vibro blades?
Yeah, they just vibrate so fast that they cut through bone like butter, but they're not energy weapons.
Huh. Also, I heard in the extended lore they had... there were... I think the stormtroopers, they fired slugs because the lightsabers couldn't deflect them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, ballistics are going to do well in space. Energy weapons are great, but ballistics will go right through a hull of a ship if they don't have armor.
Yeah. I mean...
They'll have shields that block the lasers, but then the bullets will go through the shields and hit the wall, so you're going to need hull armor and shields.
What sci-fi series did that? I was watching it and they used bullets in spaceships. I can't remember which one though. Recently.
It was a recent one, or you watched it recently, but it was old.
Maybe it was old. Maybe
it sounds
or maybe it was
like
new.
an old concept.
No,
Really?
no. It's a new. Almost all space stuff was always like pew pew lasers and photon torpedoes. This was like they were shooting guns, and I was like, they have no shields. It's just ripping through the hull. You know, crazy stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. Guns in space. All right. Jared Gutierrez says Pelosi went to celebrate giving access to over $2 billion in education to PRC, Confucius schools. Why shoot down a person who just gave you money? People are saying Battlestar. Was it The Expanse, Halo, Firefly?
Oh, didn't they have guns in Firefly? But I don't
old
remember.
West, that movie.
Firefly?
Yeah.
Or
Maybe
like
it was
Serenity?
The Expanse.
Serenity was the movie. Firefly was the show. Yeah.
Firefly was the show.
What a great theme.
That was a great show. It was really a lot of fun to watch.
They made RimWorld, the video game, is basically based on Firefly.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great game.
And then Serenity was the name of the ship, right?
I heard it didn't do well, the movie.
Yeah, who cares? I watched it anyway.
But yeah, Serenity was the ship.
Yeah.
That was great. Malcolm McDowell, is that it?
I would have watched a whole bunch more of that. I think a lot of people would.
Stacy Strickland says, previous conversation that mentioned restaurants in New Jersey. Is it still hard to order sweet tea in northern states? Random, but you used to get looked at sideways and wondering it's normalizing up there. I don't know. I don't know anybody who orders. Luke orders half sweet tea.
I didn't know when you would get iced tea when I grew up in the Northeast and I grew up in New England, if you would have to ask for sugar to add it. It's not like when they make the simple syrup and add it, and it's always like that. But I think the spread of some chain restaurants, like I think Chick-fil-A always has a sweet and iced tea, and I think that is sort of making it seem more normal. And I think some of the big brand name drinks also produce sweet iced tea. So it's
I always drink unsweetened iced tea, and I'll ask at restaurants, you have iced tea, and they'll say, well, it's unsweetened, sort of apologetically. And I'm like, good. Like, why would you?
Yeah, I don't want sugar.
Why would you put sugar in your iced tea?
I didn't have iced tea for years, because my family makes tea every morning.
I read a story about a guy who drank nothing but iced tea and then he died.
What? From what?
Really?
He was like 80 and a heart
age?
attack.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm kidding.
COVID.
No, there was actual story about a guy who was he drank nothing but unsweet tea and he died in his 40s. And I think it was related. That's what the story was about.
Like he didn't drink water?
He didn't drink water.
Well, that's
Rehydrate
that's a
you.
problem right away.
He was getting some kind of buildup or something.
I did have iced tea over the weekend. It was gorgeous.
It is
Iced
good.
tea is
All right, let's read
Right.
some more. We got Thomas Williams says, I agree going after Alex Jones for false information about Sandy Hook. I also want the same standards for all major networks, MSNBC, CNN, so on. Your false opinions have consequences. Your false opinions are protected. In this instance, it was that Alex Jones said definitive things. Now, I think what they're arguing is, and again, I don't know every detail of the case. He was saying that he was reading things from his audience and stuff like that, and then asking questions. And I think they determined, look, the standard for private citizens is way, way lower than for public figures. Maybe he could have argued involuntary public figures like they did with the Covington Catholic kids and are apparently getting away with it because those cases are getting dismissed. But,
I'm hearing that it was Battlestar in the recent Battlestar.
Recent Battlestar?
The recent one.
Which?
With the blonde girl that was Starbuck?
That had Kara.
Well, that's not real. That was 20 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But not the
15
one
years
from
ago.
the 70s.
It's the remake, though.
But that they had the bullets.
Yeah. There was something else I was watching recently, though. Had bullets in space. I don't know. Maybe it was like a low-budget movie. I can't remember. I watch random stuff on Amazon. Stefan Buksev says, regarding Alex Jones, talk to Barnes. He explains really well how he's getting railroaded. Technically, the judge has already broken Texas law regarding how he is tried. Too long of an explanation for a super chat. Interesting.
So appeal on the horizon.
He's in Texas?
This case is in Texas, yeah.
Oh, wow. Thought people were suing in Connecticut or something.
I think the previous case was, I remember he didn't show up to it in person, which is okay, and there's some back and forth, but there were two separate legal motions, and this one is in Texas.
People are saying it's The Expanse. I don't know, they could be wrong, but a lot of people just...
Yeah, I
Bullets
mean,
in space.
maybe both.
Common sci-fi theme.
Trox says, USA will not let Taiwan fall. Taiwan invasion equals World War IV. We have already had a cold World War III. We have been putting this war off, denying Taiwan independence.
I don't agree with that. I think that it's just one of these colonization tactics, and it's been planned for a long time that China, it's part of, I mean, it's right next to China.
China's taken Taiwan.
Yeah, they definitely are, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
They're moving industry to the States.
Yep.
Like the last few months they have been. They're just preparing for the transition.
That's
we
right.
just don't have the leadership to do anything.
Donald Trump said he would nuke Beijing if they tried.
Yeah, and he was the crazy person with the
know.
knife.
And he was like, maybe they believe me 5%, but it's enough. That's,
Yeah, that was.
I don't know,
quote.
man. It's kind of scary because I think
it was enough.
even the left, they were like, Donald Trump could start a nuclear war. And I'm like, yeah.
He wants you to think that.
He might.
Yeah.
He just might.
It's like,
But that doubt was really to his strength, right? Like even if it's only 5%.
well, it's like you were saying, if there's a crazy guy, like if your building on your block is on the corner, and there's a crazy looking guy twirling a gun around, and he's like shaking it and pointing it around,
Just
you'd be
stay away
like,
from that guy.
yeah, you're the one house not getting robbed, because like a crazy guy you can't argue with. If they saw somebody, they'd be like, I bet I can take him. But a crazy guy who was just like shaking his gun, you're gonna be like, nah, I'm not going anywhere near that guy.
That's right. I actually saw a guy in my neighborhood the other day, and he he had what looked to be like a little machine gun type of thing, and he was like pointing it around and stuff. And it took a while before I saw that it had like a orange tip on it.
Jeez.
And I was like, this is totally freaked out.
I've heard kids get shot, or one guy in particular, I think it was in Ohio, got shot for that. A cop saw him and thought he had a real gun, so he killed him.
Yeah, that's happened.
Oh, that's nuts.
My kid's not allowed to take his Nerf guns to the park.
Not in this era. No way.
All right. Diesel addict Ryan says, Chicken Ian, the hero we didn't know we needed until we saw him. Long live Chicken Ian.
Yes.
People were, I saw like libertarian people sharing the cartoon. So for those unfamiliar, at Chicken City YouTube channel, there's a cartoon. We asked an AI. I typed in like the parameters, like Ian, Federal Reserve, chickens, and they wrote this it wrote this story. It was like, one day Ian went to school and he was bullied by, a rooster. And so then we turned it into a cartoon. And then Ian goes on this rant about the Federal Reserve, and then the chickens take over the Federal Reserve.
It was
shut it down.
I think that the AI wrote the story, and then Kent wrote the dialogue. Was that right?
The AI wrote the premise. It was like,
and then Kent, shout out to that.
Ian
dialogue.
the chicken goes to school and was bullied, and then all the dialogue was written by Kent. Your graphene book bag.
Yeah,
that's great.
I wanted to make it into a show because that was really hilarious.
Yeah,
but I
cool.
want to rename the character from Chicken Ian to some like Wilbert or something.
Rooster Ian,
right? Yeah. Big news though. We're filming our music video. We filmed half of it for the song that we're putting out in a couple of weeks. It's really, really good. I'm really excited. Pete Parada is going to be here. He's an amazing drummer. Super excited to have him. And we're getting the big crew. We're getting the fog machine, and we're filming a music video.
Oh, it's gonna get
on
hot.
Saturday.
Yes.
In a
Let
haunted
the
house.
Sweat pour.
Oh,
It
that's
is going to
awesome.
get
It's a
hot. There's no air
haunted
conditioning.
house?
Perfect.
Yeah, it's like an old 1800s farmhouse.
Wow.
And we filmed the first part of it in disrepair, and now it's been partially renovated for this second half of the video.
Let's get a huge fan. We'll set up.
Well, we're gonna
blow it
get
on us while we're playing.
We're gonna get a couple portable air conditioner units so that we can film this because it's gonna be an all day thing.
We
We
just
got
gotta let
to
the
move stuff
sweat
around and play the song like 10 times. But I'm really excited for this. And then the ad run we have in Times Square, it's going up probably August 21st. Images from the video. It's gonna be really amazing. Super excited for this. And good music. Really great music. Carter Banks is an amazing genius music producer. So we're really excited for this. Really excited. Let's grab some more super chats. Type 54 Blackstar says, tried to vote yesterday in AZ as a libertarian and was only able to vote for the single libertarian running. Why am I forced to vote per party? Tim, are you still planning on getting your FFL? I mean, at some point it would be nice to get an FFL. Luke wanted to buy one. I don't know if I can pull that off.
What's FFL?
Federal firearms license. Oh. I think that's what it stands for.
You have to buy it?
You register a business and then you go through the hoops and then you can have a license for selling guns.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's
and
federal firearms license.
Yeah, depending on what tier it is or whatever, how it's like there you can have suppressors and short barrel rifles and all these crazy NFA items, and then there's even an application to apply for a nuclear weapon
or like robot autonomous.
Yeah, I mean probably. Weapons. I mean, it'd be really cool if a bunch of those robo dogs.
I just want that dog, yeah.
I mean, I'm down.
I'm freaked out by them. You've seen those Boston Dynamics videos. We were driving by there, going to see family, and I was like, oh my goodness, look, it's Boston Dynamics. Terrifying.
Did you see the video where it has the mounted machine or semi-automatic?
Yeah.
Man, I think it's a fully
All right, let's grab one more here. We got Mike DeRusha. He says, $99.99 says Tim won't talk about how Brave New World is happening in real time. Sexualized kids, world government, eternal youth, government mandated drugs, change my mind. Well, we have talked about that quite a bit. The only thing is we like to point to Luke Rudkowski's shirt where it shows all of the dystopian novels as a Venn diagram. And in the middle it says, you are here. Because it's not just Brave New World. It's a little bit of everything. So my friends, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you really like it, and head over to timcast.com. Sign up to become a member. We're going to have a members-only, uncensored show talking about some we'll call it spicy topics that probably not family-friendly. We'll put it that way. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Libby, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, I want to shout out thepostmillennial.com. You should come check us out. I'm at Twitter. And it's just my name, at Libby Emmons. You can also come check out humanevents.com. We're doing a lot of really interesting op-eds over there that I've been loving seeing that work. And that's pretty much, that's it. That's my whole shout out.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm going to plug timcast.com. I'm there 5 times a day. You can click on the read tab and see not just me, but the rest of the news team hard at work. And I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b.
It's a good week. You guys get involved, get engaged. This one's for you. I'm Ian Crossland. You can follow me at iancrossland.net. Get in touch with me on social media through there if you'd like to. Also, nail that like button if you haven't done it yet and click the bell.
Nail it.
Yeah, ding that bell so you get notifications when the show goes live. And I'll see you next time.
And thanks for watching.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.